Stop that. Stop that. Stop that. Yeah, I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the walking. Just too sharp with the prize. White girls better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Cold like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in a cage, I'ma let out the sheets. We came for one man, forget my peace. We take the west side, take on the east. I'ma put them in the cage, never let out the. I hear him chat to the noise. Move too quick, can't stop for the talking. I hear him chat with the boys. Not so tough, but mans keep walking. Yeah, just too sharp with the prize. White girls, better tell me I'm awesome. Yeah, hot like fire on the pan. If you wanna touch me, please use caution. Stop that. Stop that. Stop that.
This is quite the interesting thing that the Chiefs have in their locker room that they don't totally want in their locker room. And when you've got the kicker making the noise that makes him a national figure because he says the controversial things, and then the quarterback and the coach who are famous at not saying anything because they don't want to add to the distraction by saying, forcing the headline, Mahomes, has something terrible to say about teammate. You get a whole bunch of people who suddenly, very tough, strong people, don't have opinions on it. It's kind of amazing to watch. Like, these are very strong human beings right up until they've got to test the team huddle and look like they're not supporting a teammate and put sort of the unity of the huddle ahead of all other things.
This is why men belong in the kitchen.
Men belong in the huddle. Welcome back, Lucy. Are you, when I came in, Matt Kugler, who works on South Beach Sessions, kind of spit at me upon your arrival. You live in a hellhole, Dan, that there's always a truck on fire on I-95 and it's 140 degrees. And we all live here now. How have you guys felt about the recent heat surge that has the streets feeling like 108 degrees? I had to bring my dog in the other day because he didn't want to be walking on asphalt.
Oh.
I've actually been in Portland. I landed 2 hours ago, but I'm here right now, and I won't be going outside.
Okay, but I was told that you at least dressed for hot weather because you were told there's no air conditioning in here.
Yeah, I did the full routine in the airport bathroom this morning. By the way, what a great girlhood moment. We're all sitting there, everyone's brushing their teeth, doing their makeup, all of us on red eyes. Like, it was really a special moment.
I took girlhood moment completely different from where you went.
Hell yeah.
Amin is the king of the red eye. Amin is with us. Stugotz is here working on God Bless Football things. He will be around in just a moment. Welcome back, Juju. You flew in and out. Did you do that to simply go to a WNBA game? Or?
Exactly. I spent hundreds of dollars just to support my Atlanta dream. I put my money where my mouth is. I don't just get on the microphone and spew. You dig me? Salute to my sister Ryan Howard putting in a W the other night.
Well, I'm late in getting to this conversation. I will get to what happened in hockey last night and in basketball. But the end of the last game with Caitlin Clark and Charles Barkley rushing to her defense, saying, stop being petty with this woman. What is fair and unfair about the end of that last game where there was a technical, a turnover, and some stuff that happened that can't happen but is going to happen sometimes early in someone's career?
Well, she's been having, this is 2 games ago because the Fever played last night in Seattle and they lost. So they're 0-5 right now. 2 games ago at the end of the game, Caitlin had a take foul and then got a technical for swearing at the ref, which is something that she did do in college a lot. And the refs are calling it. And she's had some foul trouble. She's had a lot of turnover trouble, but she's also been pretty good at times and shown like how dominant she can be in the WNBA. So like she's having ups and downs, which is I think what a lot of people probably expected. Not controversial to say.
She's a rookie.
She had her best game of the season last night. Only 3 turnovers, 21 points. Like, Caitlin, there was always going to be an adjustment period. And when it comes to Charles Barkley, like, there are really only 2 major incidents that I see of, like, former or current WNBA players talking about Caitlyn. Diana Taurasi saying that she was going to have an adjustment period, that was the most overblown controversy ever. That was so stupid because, she has had an adjustment period. She was going to. Also, Diana Taurasi loves to talk. That's her whole thing. Not a big deal. The only moment outside of that was Cheryl Swoops, who just said a lot of factual inaccuracies, and then she apologized. So I don't really see where this hate is coming from because it's not real. It's manufactured.
Well, Angel Reese said it ain't just one team. I mean, she's not talking about the Aces when she says that.
Yeah, but she's right.
Well, I mean, but I'm just saying that adds. Here's the problem, right?
There's 12 teams. It's a fact.
The problem is, here's the problem. The problem is there is a nuance to what Angel Reese is saying. It's right. You guys can't keep focusing on the one team that hasn't won a game just because of the one player. On the other hand, there is the expected rebuttal to the great new phenomenon. She sucks. It's kind of like Mike saying that Victor Wembanyama is going to ruin the NBA and he's terrible and all that stuff, right? And so when you have the people having a nuanced take about that, it combines with the vitriol people who are just here for the show.
But Chuck was talking about players. He wasn't talking about fans, and he wasn't talking about. But to me, it sounded like he was just reading comments on Twitter. Yep. And I know this is Rich coming from me. I know how hypocritical this sounds, but we all need to get offline because the Fever have been selling out games. She's been signing autographs nonstop. Caitlin Clark is getting tons of support. And tons of, she's on national TV every game. People are watching her, and she's doing a pretty good job as a rookie. But the online hate and then saying it's coming from players that aren't, there to support her or whatever is those are two completely different things. And it's all getting jumbled into one hot take that I don't think is right.
And I think what we got to realize is she got a Heatles effect going on. She get every team best shot every game. Yeah. She's selling out all these tickets. Everybody want to be the one to bring Caitlin Clark head to the game. So she getting all these folks best shots and still performing at this level as a rookie. Come on, man. Salute.
I was also thinking last night, the Storm. So the Storm's team has had a lot of changes coming into the season, and they're a pretty new team that's had to learn how to play with one another very quickly, similar to the Fever. And they've only won one game up until last night. And I was thinking that now that the Fever are 0-5, no one wants to be the first team to lose to the Fever. So it's not even a Caitlin Clark thing anymore. It's oh God, we can't be the first team to lose to them. They're 0-5 right now.
The internet is trying to find things though. I saw some TikTok of them doing a pregame dance and Caitlyn not being into it and look, she's not with her, and it's just it was just harmless. She wasn't even not doing anything. It's just the internet is looking for reasons to attack her.
Let me ask you guys something about the internet, okay? Because I do find
Al Gore made it.
I do find interesting that division sells, that celebrating Caitlin Clark is something that we can do watching television, but on the internet, it is a place that creates a great deal of division that feeds off of the division, and things that are divisive are chum to be thrown in the water that allows people to fight about things. And so if lonely man who's angry and repressed and doesn't like women after a lifetime of being rejected by women can have his anonymous viewpoint and attach it to the symbol that Caitlin Clark is by getting into that discussion, whether he cares about the WNBA sports or basketball or not, I believe the internet is filled with just an assortment of things that feed the metastasis of that division. It is a place. It's a place for jokes. I'm not saying it's just for division, but I'm saying that when the division catches, it's easier for it to crackle than anything that resembles success, light, or positivity.
Yeah, and I don't know, if that's what Charles Barkley's seeing, then that is a separate conversation than the one that I think he was trying to start, which was that players aren't supporting Caitlin Clark and they should be uplifting her. And that whole conversation, that's a completely different thing. Yes, there's tons of toxicity online and tons of evil and hate. No one is disputing that. But I've also seen lately a lot of people, the divisiveness of, was that turnover Caitlin's fault? Was that foul a foul or not? There's been a lot of that too, which that's the type of sport that is great. Like, people arguing last night over the inbounds pass that went to Caitlin that she turned over at the end of the game when the Fever had a chance to take the lead late. I think there was like 11 seconds left on the clock. People arguing whether or not it was a good pass to her. And there was another play like a few games ago. People were arguing whether or not, I can't remember what it was, but it was like a whole thing with Caitlin. And like, those are separate things.
X's and O's.
And it like that, I really appreciate that you can post these clips online. People can argue about like very nitty gritty. Oh, it was the Brianna Stewart. It was the screen. She set a really hard screen, and Caitlin like, and was like, "What? Like, this is so mean. This screen, this mean." And it's like, no. One of Caitlin's teammates should have told her she had a screen coming because it was like totally in her blind side, right? I mean, like someone's supposed to call that
basketball.
out. That's basketball.
It's basketball.
These are
like,
different things that are happening.
I like, Jess, you're right, because then you took it to like lonely misogynists say, I hate women and I hate Caitlin Clark as a result. She's a woman ipso facto.
Is that the old movie voice from
That's
the 90s?
Guy.
Okay.
That's the guy who sits angry in his house, right?
Behind the times.
In a world.
Exactly, that same guy.
In a world behind the times.
At the same time, I'm thinking about it as, this is what popularity breeds. It's the reason why people say, what's better? The NBA now, a different champion every year, or do you want a dynasty? I said, do you want money? You want a dynasty? Well, that's not fair. I'm like, exactly. So you have half the people who are like, this is awesome. This is the greatest thing. I'm alive to see it. And then you have the other half people like, to hell with these guys. Why do they have to win? I hope someone brings them to justice or whatever. And that's kind of the dynamic I think with Caitlin Clark is. She is someone who brings a lot of attention, right? Positive attention. It's undeniable, right? With ratings and ticket sales, whatever. But because he is that thing, everyone said, this is awesome, this is the next best thing, there's automatically and always going to be an equal and opposite reaction of people like, why? What's so special about her? She couldn't even navigate a screen.
Right, and we got to also remember, bro, when Wemby came in the league, what we want to see Wemby do? Get dunked on. When Michael Jordan was in the league, it was an arena full of Utah Jazz fans rooting for Karl Dan Malone. So it's like, bro, we got to be able to stomach some of this stuff. It ain't all misogyny.
Yeah.
Some of it is X's and O's. Some folks just
Some
like
of
the
it fandom.
liberty.
Some of it just fandom, right?
You did me.
Some people want to see Jewel Lloyd and Skylar Diggins-Smith play really well together because they're their favorite WNBA players. But yes, I think the other aspect of it is like, even if there are current or former players who are like, who don't like Caitlin Clark for whatever reason, they're entitled to that. Like, that's fine. And I don't think that you need to be like, have like a moral judgment on something that's very natural in sports.
So, Jess, let me ask you, because you said you think Charles might be just reacting to social media commentary. Is it possible that Charles is also talking about people he talks to behind the scenes?
That is possible. I think if that's the case, then he should probably say that because, otherwise it's like, all right, cite your sources. Like, if that's the case, you don't have to say who it is, but you can say, like, I've talked to people in the league, I've talked to players, and I would like to know that that's where that's coming from, because I think publicly a lot of the players that have been asked about Caitlin Clark and have been asked about all these things have been very, very generally supportive and pretty normal about it.
Yeah, John Quell Jones from the Liberty came out and was like, take it easy on Caitlin. You know, she's carrying an incredibly heavy load. Like, I don't know if we've seen in our lifetime outside of LeBron James a player come into a league and have this much pressure on them to perform. So I don't like when it's Charles Barkley saying it's all these WNBA players saying these things. That's just not accurate. I haven't heard anything. It's stupid goat talk.
Oh, but wait a minute though, Lucy. Charles just got on Twitter for the first time. He has not ever been social media active. So it's not just someone who's new to Twitter. It's somebody who's 60 and new to Twitter.
And don't understand algorithms. You searched it one time, bro, so that's all you're getting now.
But again, I think we also have to allow for he might have talked to, even if it's a player behind, like, because I know this about players. I'm just talking about players in general. They say all the right things. Oh no, so and so, yeah, it's great. And then off camera, man, so and so. That's what the example I always bring up is Paul Pierce saying, if I played with LeBron and Shaq, I'd have as many rings as Dwayne Wade. Like, and when he said that, I said, you guys are all flipping out. Like, how dare he say he's as good as Dwayne Wade? But I'm like, I'm telling you, there are a lot of players who don't have the Hall of Fame resume of Paul Pierce who feel the exact same way. It's man, if I had so and so, I would just, he ain't that good. He all right, but I'm just as good. My coach was hating on me, man. There's a lot of that sentiment as a player because you kind of need that. If you're one of there's 12 teams. There's, what's that?
144 players.
144 players in the world who get to play in this league. Absolutely, you have to have a little bit of like, the hell with her, man. I'm better than her. Y'all flipping out over her.
Well, what gets to be popular and just popular? Like, not even Taylor Swift gets to be that. Who gets to be, like, who gets it? I don't know that it's possible.
Dan, nothing. Do you remember the discourse about the Barbie movie?
Right.
It was like the most highest grossing movie of the year, and people were like, this is the dumbest I've ever seen.
That's what I'm telling y'all, man. It's like, it's not, there's no part of this that's like foreign territory. It's quite the opposite. Like, this is it. This is it. Like, we are finally post gender politics, at least when it comes to the WNBA. And I think it's just like crazy fandom, just people.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, but wait a minute. Let's examine this for a second.
I'm an optimist.
Because pre-internet, I was blissfully unaware of the pervasive toxicity that has since spread. And I will say that overall, the feeling that the internet gives me is, while addictive and bringing me over to jokes, it brings more toxicity into my life than used to be there pre-internet. So I ask you guys, whether it's Game of Thrones or anything that by Hamilton, anything that by consensus is popular at the time. I know that Amin doesn't like Hamilton.
Juju's got a good one.
Juju doesn't like Hamilton either. Do you have any?
No, Blue's Clues. I ain't never met nobody in the world that's gonna hate on Blue's Clues.
Great nomination.
Bro. Like, who don't like Blue's Clues, bro? If you don't like Blue's Clues, you're a loser.
I don't know. I know some people who don't like Blue's Clues. Not me.
What?
But I'm just saying I know some people.
Come on, Amin.
I know some people. I know I'm not going to name the names because, like Charles Barkley, I care about my friends. But
well, I don't know. First of all, you're giving Charles Barkley cover again and again that I'm not sure is accurate. We're going to play the sound in a second, but put on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. If you don't like Blue's Clues, are you a loser? And I will tell you that I think it was the tipping point that I read that stunned me about Blue's Clues, because children's television, I thought, was not something that was meant strategically to formulaically and with adults being manipulative ensnare children. Ensnare children.
Dan, you're about to be ensnared in a bad take here. You have confused two different social media conversations about two different programs that feature the word blue. You might as well be saying NYPD Blue is getting a weird pushback on
What
it.
have I confused?
Blue's Clues is not the same as Bluey.
Oh, I thought he said Blue's Clues. I thought that's what he said. I'm sorry, my
I
bad.
said Blue's Clues.
Blue's
You were
Clues.
describing Bluey.
Yes.
No, I'm describing from the tipping point. Blue's Clues is a children's television show, is it not?
Yeah, they both are. Blue's Clues and Bluey are.
And Blue's Clues is the one in the tipping point that was very strategically organized to manipulate children into becoming addicted to morning television and making children, by consensus, love something that I didn't know was manipulative.
Look,
I
Dan,
thought Sesame Street was simple.
Look, you get one paw print. That's the first clue. You put it in a notebook. Now what do? Blue's Clues, Blue's Clues.
Sit on the chair and think about it.
Forgive me, I mean, I still don't know the mistake that I'm making, because I'm pretty sure the show I'm talking about is indeed something that was meant to manipulate children into becoming addicted strategically, because adults, it was sort of what the YouTube algorithm is, or what the FaceTime and what all the algorithms are that ensnare you, but for children. And regardless, the popular television thing, something like Game of Thrones before season 8, Sopranos, Breaking Bad, what gets to be just popular today, or mostly popular? Because you mentioned Mike Ryan and Wembanyama. Mike Ryan is one of the few, very few, a loud minority saying Wembanyama is not going to be special. Most people understand that he is.
I got one. Everybody loves Dolly Parton.
Oh,
that's true.
There you go. 9 to 5.
Except Jolene.
I thought you were going to say Raymond. Yeah. Oh, Jolene. Universally unpopular.
Hey, Jolene.
That's a great one.
Did you guys know that she wrote Jolene and my
I Will Always Love You
on the same day?
Ah!
On the same day.
I have this really cool coffee table book. I'll bring it in. It's just Dolly Parton's life in outfits. Oh, cute. It's so
Is
cool.
Rhinestone in it?
Yes.
Oh, great. Rhinestone's a great movie. You should listen to the Cinephobe episode.
Will
about it.
Ferrell.
No, it's a lot of people hate
People
Will.
hate Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
Some people,
man,
I
salute
think
to Will.
people will be critical of his movies, but you don't dislike
No,
him.
Tony Medley, a Cinephobe staple,
Okay.
hates on Will Ferrell every single time.
Oh,
and
since Tony Medley.
Well,
That must
look.
be the consensus.
Look, Tony Medley. We're not going to disrespect Tony Medley on this show, brother.
I know who Tony Medley is. I don't think my sister Jessica knows who Tony Medley is. Who is Tony Medley?
I don't.
Tony Medley is a movie critic whose website we discovered early on in the Cinephobe process, and he hates a lot of different things.
Wait, was this the really long review that Zach Harper read during the episode I came on?
Yes,
Oh,
absolutely.
I was wondering
That guy.
what he was reading.
My brother, I love you. If Black History Month was a couple of months ago, but you need to take your ass to the penalty box for that Tony Medley clear out. No, sir.
Well, I can't promote my show, brother.
Get out of here.
Minor penalty, 2 minutes for boring.
Oh, that wasn't boring. Hell of a job, man. A lot of things. It was self-serving. It wasn't boring.
What was that?
Denzel Perriman, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Denzel Perriman said that Jim Harbaugh reminds him of Will Ferrell. And I don't know which Will Ferrell character Denzel Perriman is thinking he's seeing when Jim Harbaugh comes into the room in character. Can you just finally play, please, the Charles Barkley sound that for some reason Amin insists on saying that Charles Barkley is doing a bunch of journalistic reporting and protecting his sources here. This isn't just Charles Barkley being Charles Barkley.
You women out there, y'all petty, man. Hey, LeBron, you're 100% right on these girls hating on Caitlin Clark. Y'all petty, girls. I expect men to be petty because we're the most insecure group in the world.
Oh, you are.
Y'all should be thanking that girl for getting y'all ass private charters, all the money and visibility she bringing to the WNBA. Don't be petty like dudes. Listen, what she's accomplished, give her flowers. Stop being petty, all you women out there. She got y'all ass charters. She bringing all y'all this money to the table, but y'all being petty like dudes. LeBron, you are 100% right. Y'all girls, stop being petty. Caitlin Clark, thank you for bringing all that money and shine to the WNBA.
Do you think the people in the TNT room scatter when they hear him start a thought, you women out there?
Zagaki, what the hell was that?
I was like, woof. Right away, I'm just like, oof.
And LeBron was at the house like, what am I watching? What the hell?
What was wrong with that?
My fedora.
LeBron, you're right. Yeah, LeBron at his house, like, oh no, Chuck.
Don't say you women out there and then just bring me into it.
LeBron, you are right.
LeBron's right.
The girls repeatedly might have been.
That's another one. Yes, that's going to happen as the powerful men on television age out. I know I have made a number of mistakes, and there is a lot of learning out there to be done. But I think the definition of girls is under 18, correct? Like the formal definition of when you refer to a woman as a girl or when you refer to her as a woman, the cutoff age is 18 years old,
It's not
right?
the GNBA.
That's right. That's not even college basketball, isn't even the GNBA. I did want to talk about the game last night between Minnesota and Dallas because it was a little bit stunning to me. Not that Dallas could win, because of course Dallas could win a game or the series. They've got two of the best players in the world. But what Dallas was able to do in the paint against Minnesota was confusing to me, and I'm going to say it's because Luka and Kyrie are otherworldly talents that can just break even the number one defense in the league, because what Kyrie did in that first half, I mean, I didn't understand. Now, I've been watching this guy for a long time, and I don't understand what he does around the rim, how he does it at that size. But to do it against that team and that size in the paint was something that I was not expecting. It's not that I didn't expect Dallas to win, but the way that they won was surprising to me. So we'll get into that with Amin next.
So, Dan, Bluey is a dog family, and Blue's Clues is a dog detective. Yeah. See, Bluey has a nice family, a nice dad, a nice mom.
They're both girl dogs, though,
Yep,
right?
They are, which a lot of people are surprised. Bluey is a girl. And it's just it's a damn good family, and it has nothing to do with Blue's Clues, which is a detective show. So I just want to clear that up for the
Both are for
the audience.
kids.
After the third paw
Yeah.
print, you sit down in your thinking chair and you think. And you think some more, and then you think with a little tune on it, you know?
I appreciate the clarification. I either miscommunicated or simply got it wrong. What I was trying to articulate to the group is when I read for the first time how adults had created Blue's Clues with a lot of formulaic, strategic things that are meant to keep your child in front of the television in a way that you, the parent, doesn't understand how to make your child that interested in anything. I was startled because I thought children's television was less sophisticated than that.
We should do that with this show. Yeah. You know what I mean? Get the kids locked in, numbers go up.
And you know it.
We got to get that demo. We got to get them hooked early to the addictive stuff. Start them young. Answer my question, on how it is that the Mavericks were able to do that in the paint to the Timberwolves, where I haven't even looked at the number. It's just the way the game went. I saw that Dallas was doing a lot of scoring inside that Minnesota was not doing.
Yeah,
and Minnesota had a great shooting night from three. Like Minnesota losing that game at home because Dallas was able to do whatever it wanted on high percentage shots near the rim is not how I had that game going.
Yeah, Dan. Full disclosure, I don't know what happened after halftime because I was at my kid's graduation. So all my analysis comes from the first half of that game, which is good.
Well, how about we just defer to the experts who did watch it? I would tell you, brother.
My bad, man. I'm sorry for being a dad.
It's a testament to Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns not playing like their size. They play like finesse. They play like paper soldiers. You feel me? So when you attack that paint and you got enforcers in there, they know what to do. They're more so finesse players who play a little defense, but the defensive player of the year, ironically, he's just not dominating the paint defensively like we saw him have to take up that challenge with the Joker.
Well, and what was interesting with this group in particular is Minnesota played a lot of drop coverage last night. And Mike Conley talked after the game about how that wasn't initially the game plan, but ultimately that's kind of where it went and that was a mistake. And I don't know if that's communication from the coach to the players or the players not necessarily executing, but you saw it all game long. Gobert playing in drop coverage, and Kyrie took advantage in the first half, and then ultimately Luka took advantage all in pick and roll actions in the second half.
In the fourth quarter, Luka, that was interesting to watch. Kyrie carried them in the first half. Minnesota shoots the hell out of the ball, but Kyrie can't miss and is somehow making all these floaters over their Giants. And then fourth quarter time comes, and Doncic just takes the entire game over. You didn't see it though.
I didn't see the second half. I saw the part that Kyrie killed. I can speak to that.
And to Dan's point, Kyrie can do this. That's why he turns it on in the last round in the second half, because he wants to get his team involved. Last night, the lights were bright, so you need to be able to follow someone into the darkness. And he took the mantle, and he could play like this all the time, but he wants to get his teammates involved. And once he see Luka wake up, that's when, okay, cool, my job is to facilitate now.
Was this like a real graduation, or was this one of those little kid graduations where like it's the end of the school year and they just do a whole thing even though the kid didn't actually graduate?
It was
something?
8th to 9th grade, so
that's kind of
we're going to a different school
next
year,
okay.
high school next year.
You couldn't skip that one.
Can't
game
skip
one.
it. No, can't. Well, not for the game. No, especially because I was flying out afterward. That was the other thing.
My daughter has a kindergarten graduation next week.
Kindergarten graduations happen.
No, it's ridiculous.
No. It happens because like they don't know. Like, I can't wait till I get to the 8th grade for a graduation. So you have to kind of set them up. Now the hard part is when they get to the first grade, they get done and they're like, well, "Where's my graduation?" Like, nah, buddy, that doesn't happen until later.
The crazy thing about happening until later as well is Jaden Daniels. You can't waste these games.
Jaden McDaniels.
Jaden McDaniels. Excuse me, pardon me, Jaden. He is playing phenomenal, bro. He woke up during that Denver series, and if he can play like this and Ant-Man can find his win and the team can get their legs under them, they're going to pose Dallas a problem.
Dan, if I told you that a team was going to shoot 6 of 25 from 3 and the other one was going to shoot 18 of 49, in today's NBA, even in these year's playoffs, you would have said, wow, the team that hit 18 threes demolished the other one. It would have looked like Celtics versus Heat Game 3 or something like that. And instead, what we got was something in the mud, because I think the other thing that we're not talking about that we need to talk about is that this Dallas team has been a tremendous defensive team since the trade deadline. Defensively, they've been better. And it's not just because P.J. Washington and Gafford and moving Lively to the bench and all those. Yes, absolutely. But Kyrie Irving is playing defense at a level that he hasn't played before. Luka Doncic, I would say, is playing defense at a level he hasn't played before. And now you've got a system and you've got everybody bought in. It makes life a lot more difficult for the opponent and makes it easier for the Mavericks offense. They don't have to be the greatest offense of all time. They can just be great in pockets.
12th grade is the only acceptable year for there to be a graduation.
I don't agree.
What do you even do at kindergarten graduation?
Nothing. You sit
Clap
there.
for 'em. Well, every graduation, by the way, there's nothing to do.
My daughter was
There was
selected.
a bunch of speech. There was a bunch of speeches. Look, I like it when they honor kids. Hey, this kid was great in the community, whatever. Okay, give them their thing and they take a little picture. But when we have like the speeches of like the times we had, I'm like, oh, it's 8th grade.
You're not going to remember these times.
My daughter's been practicing a kindergarten song that's to like one of the Grease songs, like kindergarten had me a blast.
Yeah, they do that everywhere.
Kindergarten went by so fast.
Wait, that's kind of cute.
No, I know, it is
Oh,
cute. I can pull up the
goddamn.
lyrics. I've been singing it with her for 2 days straight.
My oldest graduation from kindergarten, they had to do like it was Taylor Swift Shake It Off, but instead of Shake It Off, it said first grade. First grade. Kindergarten this day. I can't remember the song. This is 10 years ago, whatever, but.
All right, let's send him out again. 2 minutes for boring. Let's send him out again. Get him out of here.
It's not boring.
You got to remember.
We're talking about
Minor
graduation.
penalty, 2 minutes for boring.
If you're going to go down the path of I have this song that I want to sing to you, you've got to remember it.
I didn't say I have this song that I want to sing.
Well,
I said I was just trying to help him out.
You know who also had a song that they didn't?
Just for a second, Chris Cody's. There it is.
Wow, your daughter has a great voice.
Yes, Chris Cody is getting our video blocked from YouTube.
This can't
Everybody
be
quiet it
copyrighted.
down. Let's clear it out.
Can't be
What the hell we
copyrighted.
doing?
When Chris Cody picks up his phone and has an idea, we all have to. Why are you still here? We all have to get out of the way.
Yeah,
and
even the monetization be damned. It's just the idea happened. But like I said, bro, the idea that the bench from Dallas could step up the way they did versus you got little cousin Alexander Walker. He put up 2 points. I feel like it's players like him. Naz Reid had a good game, but it's going to take their bench stepping up because Dallas's bench is ready. P.J. Washington can activate at any quarter, and that corner three is going to be there, especially with the ball penetration from Kyrie and Luka. Them wings wide open. So I think that if Minnesota can stiffen up the defense, it can pose a problem. But, man, with Cat playing like out there on the wing and all that, that's going to leave that paint wide open.
Both teams have something to take away from last night's game that can make them feel positive moving forward. Because if you're Dallas, you were able to do that with just your stars going off and your role players not doing anything offensively. 6 for 25 from 3. But their defense in stifling the stars of Minnesota in Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards has to make you feel great. But if you are Minnesota, your stars didn't do anything offensively, and you were still right in that game.
You lost by 3.
You lost by 3 points. Jaden McDaniels
but you
playing
shot
well.
the hell out of the ball, though. You shot the ball from 3, and you allowed too many easy shots. There are a couple of things that I would say that are interesting here. This is the first time in the conference finals that two teammates playing together in the conference finals for the first time have both gone for 30 since Steph and Durant. That's obviously good company to be keeping. When you talk about McDaniels awakening, all year that person has been a problem on the perimeter guarding people. He seems very difficult to get around. He bothered Jamal Murray a great deal. But I want to put on the poll at Le Batard Show, are Gobert and Cat paper soldiers? Because Juju has accused them of being paper soldiers because Cat likes to roam around the perimeter. It's easier out there. It's nicer out there. You don't have to be bothered. Look, man, I don't know about you guys. I really don't know how you feel about this. But me, whenever I see an NBA player grab a rebound and swing his elbows, I'm like, I would not want to be near any of what's happening out there. I'd like to float around the perimeter and not be anywhere near a 6'10" person who's decided to grab a rebound and swing his elbows around. The reputation that Cat has is he is a player for the modern age, that grande por gusto is what they call like Brook Lopez, big for no reason, because he floats around the perimeter in the modern game. But Cat's coming off a game in which they beat Jokic, at least in part because those paper soldiers were a problem for Jokic. And so right. I'm not willing to go from soldier to paper soldier just because they lost a game at home.
No, I'm not. You're right about that for sure. I'm not saying that they are. It's just the fact that they have these disappearing acts, like the Celtics, for example. You can't be a championship-determined team and take games like this where you have the matchup. You have P.J. Washington guarding you, Big Cat. Let's get that in the post. Like, we don't need to be shooting all these threes if you can master your craft. Just like Rudy. If Rudy could learn one post move and just do it all the time, he would average 25 points a game because he got people on his back. He just get the ball and tip it somewhere and bat it out. Brother, it's the skill setting of these people who I think that could improve game to game.
But he can't do that, right? I mean, because I remember Shaq did not go from what he was to perpetual MVP until he learned how to do some things in the post. He did learn that later in his career. That was not something that was in Shaq's games in the 20s. He would just bowl over people and be physically stronger than them. Gobert's not going to learn that. That ship has sailed. There will be no learning of the Gobert post game. That's not going to happen.
Well, I would say Shaq wasn't just bowling over people. He had incredible footwork and timing and touch on things that weren't dunks as well that made him hard. But more importantly, the song goes, in first grade saying it's going to be all right, but I did grow up. I'm ready to move on. Ready for first grade. That's how it went.
Maybe sing it the way the song goes.
I don't
so
know how
we
the
can
song
what
goes.
Song
I vaguely know the song.
The Grease one's a lot better.
Yeah, well, look, man, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, so I know that song a lot better than I know the Taylor Swift song. But
we had to sing "The Climb" by Miley Cyrus. So we would get on the stage, sing "The Climb" by Miley Cyrus, and then we walked off, and the teachers would stand there and they would play "My Wish" by Rascal Flatts. My wish for you.
Any interest at all from the room on Beverly Hills Cop 4? The trailer has been released. Beverly Hills Cop 3 was a real horror. Like, it deserved to end there. It was terrible. It's some of the worst work Eddie Murphy has ever done. But now,
spoiler alert.
That's the third one. The third one was bad. Like, it was just unspeakably bad. It did not honor the first two, and I thought they killed it right on the spot. But in July, it is going to be released. The trailer is out, and I love Eddie Murphy. He harkens back to a different time for me. In fact, there's another subject here that I'd like to cover with you guys because I was fairly heartbroken to see Joe Piscopo from the 1980 Saturday Night Live cast with Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy rescued that show. Would have died if not for Eddie Murphy that year. Joe Piscopo was at the Trump trial yesterday, and I was like, it happened with Scott Baio for me. It happened with the kid from Silver Spoons, where I'm like, oh,
Ricky Schroeder?
Yeah, not you. Not you. You were, and Joe Piscopo shows up at the Trump trial, and I was like, not you. Not you too, Piscopo.
I feel like you're just making words up. I don't know what you just said. No clue.
Piscopo.
It's a great comedic
You
name.
lost her when you stopped talking about Bluey, Dan.
Yeah, I know. Joe Piscopo is a funny name. Last night, the Florida Panthers.
Oh, Dan.
Yeah, it was great. And Bobrovsky doesn't have a lot of shutouts this year. Shutouts, those are pretty hard to come by. And he was great. The Panthers had the hot goalie last night.
Shout out to him.
15 minutes, though. This is the thing that I just didn't see coming with this Panther team when they did it the way that Huberdeau did it. 15 minutes without a shot on goal for the Rangers in a playoff game? 15 minutes?
Dude, they're doing everything right now. Their 5-on-5 is good. Their penalty kill is good. Their defense is great. They could be a little better on the power play right now, but it is just they are clicking. I felt way too good after that. I'm nervous of how good I felt after that game last night. This has to get scarier than this. Like this, I'm going up there tomorrow for
Wait
game
a minute.
2.
You're saying you weren't scared, but you were a different person pre-own goal and post-own goal.
The sphincter was way different pre-own goal than it was post-own goal.
Loosened up?
It loosened up a little bit. But it's just overall, even before that, I thought the Rangers were going to break through in that game and get a goal. But just the Panthers 5-on-5 right now is crazy. And then they even had a few penalties. The Rangers are great on the power play, and we cleaned that up. So it's just, I felt great after the game. I was scared going into it, but I felt great after the game. I think this will get scary. I'm not overly confident, but that was just a great game 1 from the Panthers.
How many shutouts did Bobrovsky have this year, and how many shutouts did Bobrovsky ever have in the playoffs?
I'm not sure about this year in particular. I can look for that, but this is just his second career playoff shutout, and that's someone with the nickname of Playoff Bob.
I'm going to guess that he doesn't have over 5 or 6 shutouts this year. Do I have that wrong? Mike Ryan is joining us now from whatever debauchery he got into with his hockey friends last night. Where did you watch this?
His house.
How drunk were you? Yeah, he's in his house now, but I want to know the details of his. What did you call the hockey the hosers? You and your
hosers.
Yeah, you and your hosers. Where'd you watch the game? What'd you do?
There's this great hockey bar that's brand new by Coral Gables called The Bright Side, and it is electric. And we had a wonderful time. Taylor got booed out of the building. It was wonderful to see. It was great energy. We had a wonderful time. I do feel great about this series. I think in part because I don't think Florida was all that great in all the facets of the game they needed to be. And I think Sergei Bobrovsky, we've been hard on him in the past and we've given him his flowers when he's good. I think that might be his signature Panther performance. He was brilliant. They had 3 breakaways that he just stood on his head for and got lucky a little bit with the post. Florida had a little bit of luck in that game. I don't think that Florida's played particularly well on offense in the last 3 games, and they're 2-1 in them.
Give me those Bobrovsky stats when you can, Jeremy, because I'm trying to find out how rare that performance was, where it wasn't just breakaways on Bobrovsky that he's stopping. It was breakaways where I'm like, how did that dude not have a chance to score? Like, you were on a breakaway. You didn't look like you were going to score, except when I started to fear it, and then I stopped fearing it. And also, get for me the popularity of giving someone their flowers. Like, when did that get more popular that now everyone says that we have to give people their flowers?
I hate it.
I think it was Plies.
I agree, actually. I think Juju's right. Plies is the
Why do you hate it?
It's just a dumb saying that everybody says. Anytime anyone does anything, someone pick their nose. Oh, you got to give him his flowers for picking his nose. Oh, stop it.
And is it the giving of flowers or is it the throwing of flowers on stage?
Yeah, it's like when they give you the bouquet, right? Like someone comes up to the stage and hands you a bouquet, which I don't know if they do anymore. It used to be like Frank Sinatra be singing like, and now, and then someone would come up and just give him a bouquet of flowers.
Maybe an underwear, a little panty wrapped around it.
Maybe a hotel key, an actual physical key on there too.
Lucy gave me flowers a few weeks ago, and they're still alive, and I had to double check yesterday that they weren't fake, and I almost texted her, but they're real, and they're spectacular.
CVS.
What?
Yeah, well, I actually had to go. I was running really late, and I was running late enough that I needed an excuse for why I was running late, and just moved to a new apartment, so I was going to get her a housewarming gift anyways. So when you're running really late, you just pick something up for someone. Yeah. So that's like when you're late to work, you bring in coffee, so they're not like, oh my God, why were you late? They're like, oh my God, you brought coffee, and that's what I did. Sorry, Jess.
You know who also is real and spectacular? Matthew Tkachuk. Mike, take it away.
It was great to see him playing well. I think he's kind of had a quiet close to that Boston Bruins series. I do want to make one thing very clear. I think Dan suffered from his reputation there. I think he was locked in on Blue's Clues, and everyone just assumed that he was confusing it with Bluey, which is the children's show du jour. And Amin was very quick to jump on him. But Dan knew what he was talking about with regards to Blue's Clues. We just thought, oh, boy, here comes Dan Le Batard. He's going to mix it 2 up. This is going to be a disaster. He's going to call Bluey a boy. That wasn't the case. He was very locked in on Blue's Clues.
Thank you, Mike.
We jumped ahead of Dan. We thought Dan was going down the path of this is a show that adults like, and he was going down the path of this is a show that they want kids to be addicted to. Like, you know what?
Yeah.
We assumed he was going to be old and dumb, so we jumped in and we were wrong.
And
sorry,
I
Dan.
apologize. Accountability here. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm the one that voiced it. So I heard the rumors and the murmurs from the other room, and I said, I got it, guys.
Well,
I'll save the day.
This is excellent, first of all, for a number of different reasons. Thank you. I appreciate the general apology and accountability that I don't often get around here that's quite that overt. I don't think any of us are very good at an immediate, I raise my hand, I'm sorry. But
I touched the ball, Coach.
You can have the most confident about whatever it is that you're saying, and the speed that these piranha will seize on you together when they have a leader, like the speed of it will shake your.
He's holding dump.
Yes. What I saw through the room sweep over, like, yes, I mean, we'll follow you into that fire. I got my confidence shaken, even though I'm looking at all of you, and I'm like, I know I've read this book, and they have it. Like I know. Well,
Not a book.
Let this be a lesson, guys. No matter what people are saying, if you are confident in yourself, you can make it to the top.
It will shake your confidence, though. This room, feeding like piranha, will shake your confidence, even on things you're confident about.
First of all, I'm amazed that you called me boring after all that. But second of all, I have an important question for Mike. Mike, when's the last time you used a Peloton?
Yesterday.
To watch the game?
Yeah.
Or what did you do? You just sat there?
Don't do my boy like that.
I get some guff for this. First off, it's a household Peloton. My wife and I enjoy it. I've recently gotten into it. I just had my 51st ride. Thank you for the congratulations. But what I like to do on the Peloton is I take German Peloton classes.
Oh.
I don't really understand at all what they're saying.
They're just angry.
But I like how they're saying it.
You like
and
how
I find
angry
it
they
extra
are.
Motivating.
It's
The
nice.
music's not bad.
Reisen. Oh, damn. Okay, I'm Reisen. Okay, I'm Tyson now. Okay.
Bobrovsky has 6 shutouts during the regular season, and in 7 of his last 8 games, he has allowed 2 goals or fewer. Again, though, as great as he was, 15 minutes. I'm watching playoff hockey, and I'm watching the Rangers, the team that had more points than any in the sport this year, and for 15 minutes, they cannot assemble in a 1-0 game a shot that gets to Bobrovsky. That is a level of hockey that the Panthers have never been capable of. There has never been a Panther hockey team in my lifetime that can go to the playoffs and take a good team and keep them from a shot for 15 minutes. It's just never existed.
Yeah, last year's team had a bit of that, but this team is bigger than last year's team, bigger and stronger. I think one thing that they figured out after, granted they were super injured by the time that final came to a close, is we need to get bigger, we need to get deeper, we need to get stronger because we kind of got pushed around by Vegas. So they added a bunch of size, and also Barkov is just out of his mind right now, playing so strong. I don't think that the lack of offense that we've seen over the last 3 games is a direct result of just how great and ferocious the forecheck is for Florida, because the power play has kind of struggled too, even when they have an advantage. But that forecheck is as good as we've ever seen in Florida, no doubt. And another note, like, it's very easy to assume that Bluey is a boy, because traditionally blue is assigned to boys' colors. This is still going on to this day with gender reveals. And also, I remember when I would answer the phone in my house when I was a child, and there would be like a sales rep saying, "Hello, ma'am, how's it going?" It's very hard to distinguish whether from a little child's voice, especially in a cartoon, whether or not that is a boy or a girl. But Bluey is indeed a girl, despite the color.
Put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Did you know Bluey was a girl, and should Bluey, by name, be a boy? Let's put up something here on the screen that's going to make Florida fans very happy. Look at how empty that arena is at the end of that game last night. The first playoff game for the Rangers. This is a giant game, and toward the end of it, they're still playing. That is an empty arena. That's not fans leaving. That's fans who have left.
Past tense.
Taylor walked in here today saying it's over. He saw 15 minutes of no shots, and he's like, we're totally doomed.
You know what? I want to be on the side of paying customers being able to leave whenever the hell they want to. They pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for these tickets, and you wanted me to sit here and watch my team lose? No, sir. I got to go home. It's a school night.
No, Juju, that's not what this is about. This is about Miami saying, oh, I thought we were the ones that left early.
We are very triggered by this. Yeah. It is
This
like,
is
I'm starting to
very
see it clearly.
The Celtics fans who left early and then they ended up winning Stugotz style. I had to watch the game outside. The funny thing to me was like, wait a second. You guys didn't leave to beat traffic? You were on foot? Then why'd you leave early? It was the tie game. It was something like they were down 3. Why would you leave early? To beat what traffic on foot?
I don't think the series is over by any stretch of the imagination. I think Florida, while very good defensively, they also got pretty lucky. Those are chances that New York will put away, and New York's top 6 is going to put up a better effort. I think of their top 6, like half had decent games. The other half went totally missing. Maybe there's some things that they can do to their line, but I think one thing that's really stuck out is Florida's still way more capable of playing a better game. They haven't played their best game, a complete game, in actually quite some time, and I think that's a testament to how good they actually are and the overwhelming depth that Florida has. Benny started skating really well yesterday, but you can still see offensively he's not quite there yet. So the luxury to have him on your third line and be able to grow back into form while Anton Lundell has really put up a string of consistent efforts, and that was always the thing with him, consistency. Florida is just really, really deep, and it's a depth that is only really rivaled in the league by Dallas and Vegas for my money. And I think when we get a treetop view on that first round series, we'll realize, maybe that was a Western Conference Finals in the first round. But Florida has just never been this deep. And it's probably not a sustainable thing given their cap situation. You got to pay Rhino. I don't know if Montour figures into the equation next year. So while Florida is primed to have a run here over the next couple of years, the talent level is so tremendous this year that you kind of wonder if it's not going to happen for them this year, it's going to be tougher to have this good a shot with this kind of depth.
I am legitimately proud of Amin and all the stretching he is doing during breaks to take care of himself because those red eyes are beating him up. But I just walked into the other studio and I heard what I'm going to describe as a rabid Lucy explaining that the only time that she will put her airplane seat back is if someone behind her has pissed her off. And so I want to ask the audience at Le Batard Show, because there are two kinds of people in the world, people who don't put their seat back and people who do. And I've always thought, before being reprimanded for it, that the button is there for you to be able to put the seat back. And so if you're giving me permission to do that, I would assume that anybody who wants to do that should do that. But so many different people told me that that was the wrong thing to do that I stopped doing it. So I asked the group, what is etiquette here? What is correct etiquette on this? Because I was corrected by so many people that I was made to feel bad for it, and Lucy doing it as an act of vengeance is surprising to me.
Well, so I'm a short person, but my body is not proportional at all, and I have really long legs. And so when someone leans their seat back, immediately that's my knees into the back of their seat. And so you've automatically just taken all of my space away. I don't think that's cool. I'm not trying to take anyone's space on a plane. It's already small enough. It's already tight enough. So if you lean your seat back, I'm going to open and close my tray table so many times throughout the flight. It's going to bother you. I'm going to put my knees up. Well, it's the only place they can go because I don't have a lot of space. It's going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be putting water bottles in and out of that little pouch. You are going to be aware that someone is sitting behind you. And I never lean my seat back. There's only 2 situations where I'll do it. If the person behind me has leaned their seat back, because you don't get to take space and not have your space taken, or if you're on my nerves. Like, I didn't do it on my flight from Portland, but the 2 ladies behind me, they were just yapping the whole flight. We left Portland at 10:30 at night. You gotta shut up.
So you showed her, you leaned back.
I didn't even do it.
Oh.
The airline industry is winning here because they're pitting us against one another instead of having to answer for their crimes of shoving people in economy class like sardines, where you have 6 inches of room between where your seat ends and the seat in front of you begins. And most people cannot sit comfortably, even if they are little like me and Lucy. And it is terrible. It is the worst. And instead, we're all just fighting with one another.
Society is split on this. of like the whether you go back or not. Like you cannot find consensus on this. Everyone's got an opinion on this.
I want to know what the poll reveals because I still don't know what the room feels. Is there anyone here who will aggressively argue on behalf of the button's there for me to lean back? If you give me the option, it's my option. Because I used to think like that, and I was just shamed out of that kind of thinking.
I think like that. If the person in front of me comes back, I'm going back. That's how I live.
That's not what he's saying.
That's not what I'm asking.
The
button is there. Will you press it and always go back? I'm big. I'm physically big. So
Yeah, you are.
I will remind you. Thank you, Chris. I will remind you guys that once upon a time, flights served prime rib. There was somebody in the plane who was cutting up prime rib, and now they just put us all together. That flight from Atlanta, Juju, I don't know which airline you're flying, but are you stuck on top? You're not small either. Like
Exactly.
there are people stuck all over you because of how the airlines keep doing what the potato chip industry is doing, where they're tricking us with the way they the way they use
Family
space
size
tricks
bag.
us. Yeah, the way they use space is meant to trick us.
You're in first class, so I don't know what you're complaining about.
The guy
Le Batard.
Back when I used to fly in a way that didn't give me the personal freedoms that allowed me to put my seat back whenever I wanted to. But
now you've got your dog like in front of you, probably.
Oh my God.
yes, that's
You're
right.
one of those
That's
guys.
right. I get the pilot to go get me a drink. That's correct.
I feel like it also depends on the length of the flight. If you're putting your seat back on like a 2-hour flight, like come on, what are we doing?
No, they just do it. They just do it. My bad, Juju. They just do it to do it. That's why I'm because it's like it's the ultimate move. It's like we finally taken off. Oh, I don't have to have that regulations of seat backs up, trays up. Like okay, boom, they go back immediately. I'm
You
like,
seem like a lean backer.
I'm not.
I don't know what I'm saying about how I feel about
I
you. but
respect
Sort of
the
racist.
sanctity. Yeah, first of all.
Whoa.
Amin just seems like a guy that would be like, I'm doing what I want here.
That escalated to racism very quickly.
He put hard R and lean backer. How else am I supposed to take that?
No, because I wouldn't. I think Juju wouldn't. Yeah. So you can't call me racist.
That kick saving abuse.
Well, I guess he got you guys there. I don't know.
I don't believe we're defining racism correctly.
I'm a lean backer, but Juju's a lean backer. Totally different.
I didn't say any of that.
Chris, no one has your
Want
back.
that on the
back here.
record?
Yeah, if you lean your seat back, bro, especially in the main cabin. If you in the main cabin leaning your seat back, you are a butt munch, man. Like that is too rude, bro. I'm tall as hell. I had to ride to Germany. I was in the main cabin. The person in front of me leaning his chair back. I'm talking about every 5 minutes for 10 hours. I gave him one of these.
Yeah.
Like I play football.
Oh, a little elbow.
I'm going to make you know I'm mad at you.
Yeah.
I ain't finna play these. Salute my sister Lucy. I'm going to let you know. Scooch your seat up, bruh.
Do you do the knee into the back where like they feel the knee hitting their lumbar?
I think when you send the message is when you use the restroom. When I'm getting up, you are going to go on a ride. I'm going to get up.
That is the worst person on the flight. The person that walks back and forth through the cabin and is like pushing and pulling every seat
bumping
back.
into every elbow.
Juju, I was not clear on whether you were doing football or basketball because at one point you were hitting the blocking sled, but at another point you were throwing elbows to like get post position in basketball.
It's a Damakansu, pretty much a Damakansu. We got him kicked out. Yeah, I just give him a little chuck. But to that brother's support, he didn't move the whole fight, bro. His ass, he must have took whatever people take allegedly.
Pills?
You know what I mean? Because he ain't budge. Salute.
Lucy's the person on the flight, by the way, who has like every gadget. She has every gadget, every type of thing to help her be relaxed and to sleep. Like she must be on Amazon 24/7 trying to find the latest airplane gadget.
I don't know what that is, Lucy, but it looks.
Let's go through her bag. That bag.
That's not a bag.
I don't know what that is. I mean, it's a stocking of some sort, a purple. It looks like a purple stocking for the purposes of the audio
it looks
audience.
Phallic.
It's penile shaped. You can say that.
Yeah,
Phallic.
it is. This is a pillow for audio purposes. You guys talk while I blow it up.
Okay, all right. She's gonna blow.
I thought she was smuggling like alcohol in that thing for a second.
Yeah.
It's a flask.
This
Phallic
is.
thing.
Is this still on Max? Are we still live?
We are still live, but it is not on.
Oh,
Max.
okay. So we can curse now.
We can curse on Max. I don't know what you're doing.
I'm a window seat girly, and so this is like because of the regular neck pillows, they don't do anything for me. I think they're really uncomfortable. So I put it in between the edge of like the window,
The crevasse.
and then I use this thing, and you hook it to the like seat rest, and I'm gonna just.
It looks a bit like an arm sling, or
Let's not talk about what it looks like.
Okay, we'll stop talking about it. But she's holding it the way.
This is a bad visual, but this is how I sleep on the plane.
The visual's not as bad because the
it's
scrotum would be like.
What are the other things that you have as devices and that help you fly when Jessica accused you of having an assortment of things you fly with?
I left this at home, so I didn't have it for my flight, but I have the little hammock thing, so I open up I fly a lot, so
I do too.
take notes. So I open up the little tray table, and then it's a hammock, so I put the hammock in between, and then I close the tray table, and I can rest my feet on, and it makes a world of difference. It's so much more comfortable. And then I also have a little eye mask, and then I have a heated eye mask that goes under. But I use those every night because they're good for your eye health. I learned that from my optometrist. Shout out Dr. J. She is lovely.
Dr. J's your optometrist?
Yeah. We follow each other on Instagram. And what else do I have? I have a little AirFly thing. So if I have a screen on the seat in front of me, I can plug that in and my AirPods connect to it. Wow. And I have this great travel backpack. It fits everything. It's huge.
Just a backpack.
Yeah.
But it fits all of it. And I put all these
lot of patches.
I put all these patches
She
on
wanted
it.
to show off her
Very
patches.
fire.
I worked
and
really
I don't
hard
blame
on
her. They're cute.
Let's go through some of the patches here
like
before
a
we
Girl
bring
Scout.
in Stan
Betty
Van
Boop?
Gundy.
Yeah, I love Betty Boop.
Salute.
So Betty Boop, Levi's. I got this in New York. This I got from a beer company in LA. They were handing it out. I got this at Oklahoma State because I thought it was so cool.
What does it say there? Big. It says big something near the.
Big 10.
Okay, there it is.
I have a little skeleton that says "Live, Laugh, Love." I have North Carolina. I have a bunch of Grateful Dead stuff. I have this 8-ball cherries. I have a lot of cool stuff.
And I got 2 minutes, for boring.
I think this is really entertaining.
Dan did ask.
I have a Pop-Tart pin.
Is it from the Pop-Tart Bowl?
Yeah.
Do not watch that Pop-Tart movie by Jerry Seinfeld. Salute. It's not real and it's not spectacular.
Oh, wow.
I've heard it's not good.
It's
I'm disappointed. I
It's
don't want to
not.
watch it because I don't want to
It's not good and it's expensive because the one thing that is good about it, anytime a movie can actually transport me without thinking to a different time because they've actually spent all the money to create the 1950s, I'm impressed that of the amount of expense in going into, taking me actually to a time that I'm like, oh, everything, the cars, all of the details, this seems extraordinarily expensive, but it's the only reason to watch that movie. I want to ask a question here that I think is consensus. There has never been anybody in the history of basketball who handles the basketball as well as Kyrie Irving, correct? I don't know who second place is. Who is second place for the person who, by consensus, clearly has more control of what he does with a basketball than any human being who has ever played?
Pistol Pete.
Pistol Pete, Jamal Crawford, Chris Paul,
Allen Iverson.
Their names, but you're right. Kyrie Irving, it's as close to consensus as who's the best shooter of all time.
What are we watching? Stan Van Gundy is with us now, and I want to get into him, like some of what we're seeing now that is better than it's ever been, because I don't feel like there's enough appreciation of both history and what we're watching presently to just stand back in awe and say, no one the size of Kyrie Irving has ever been able to do all of that with a basketball. Stan Van Gundy joins us now when we ask him the important question first. Stan, are you someone who, when he is not, or back when he didn't fly first class, are you someone who would put his seat back in coach, or would you keep your seat back upright?
I pretty much even now keep my seat back upright. I might lean back a little, but I don't lean back all the way.
Wait, lean back a little.
Lean back a little in first class, or you say even now you don't lean back in first class?
A little, but I don't go back as far as it'll go. Just slight recline.
I didn't know there were shades of gray in the recline. I thought it was just back or upright.
Yeah, what are you doing there, Stan?
Under the clap.
You're
playing both sides.
Yeah, you
But
are.
are you kidding me? You think that you have to go all the way back or not at all?
I just argued that there are only two kinds of people in the world: people who keep the seat upright and people who lean it all the way back. You offered an option that I had not considered.
In the gray area then. I'm in the gray area.
Unbelievable core strength to keep that position off. Like, let's see the six packs, Dan.
Stan, you agree with us or disagree that Kyrie Irving is the best handler of basketballs in the history of the sport?
Well, I mean, I heard your guys' list of people, and it's a good list, and we could argue about those guys for a long time. But the fact that you're in that discussion, I think is good enough. And I will say this. I don't think there's anyone who's ever played that you could definitively say was a better handler than Kyrie Irving.
I was surprised not by the result last night, but how it came to be Dallas dominating the paint that way against that defensive team. Were you in any way surprised by that?
Well, not once I saw how Dallas wanted to play things. They were in drop coverage, but more than that, and Chris Finch had said it before the game, they were very concerned, Minnesota was, about the corner threes. So they didn't bring their guys in at all to clog the lane. The pick and roll was played 2-on-2 between McDaniels or Edwards, whoever was the guard, and Rudy Gobert. And so Rudy Gobert was basically in 2-on-1 situations all night long. I mean, there was nothing else to take except the paint. They weren't forcing him to kick the ball out. So if that's the way they're going to cover, then there's going to be a lot of points in the paint.
Stan, one of the things that was pretty shocking was if you looked at the box score, 18 made threes for Minnesota, 6 for Dallas. And what we've seen, at least in these playoffs and really over the last few years in the NBA, is that when you see that stark of a spread on three-pointers made, the one making the threes is usually winning by a lot. How shocked were you that Dallas not only were able to score as much as they did in the paint, but to only hit 6 threes versus 18 made threes and still could walk away with the win?
Yeah, no, it is surprising, and you're absolutely right. I mean, what we have seen over the last couple of years, actually, that just doesn't happen very much. But Dallas shot 60% on twos and got 49 shots in the paint. I mean, and those guys can convert in there. And then Minnesota wasn't as good second half, 7 for 24 from 3 in the second half. So when the three stopped dropping a little bit, they didn't really have anywhere else to go. But the surprising thing also, to me was the game was decided on free throws. Dallas has struggled mightily at the line. They had the worst free throw percentage in the league in the playoffs, coming in under 70%, and they won the game at the line. It was a 3-point game. They go 16 for 17 at the line, and Minnesota goes 11 for 18. So Dallas lost Game 4 of the Oklahoma City series, shooting basically the same number of free throws as Oklahoma City and couldn't make them. And last night, they turn it around and win at the free throw line.
Skipping over to the Eastern Conference for a second, Stan. I'm not sure if you saw this story getting aggregated, but Tim Legler said on Ryan Russillo's podcast that when he wanted to talk about the Pacers, an ESPN executive told him that the Pacers weren't sexy enough to talk about on ESPN. So my question for you is, do you think the Pacers are sexy?
Well, I guess it all depends. I think Rick Carlisle would take offense at that. I'm sure Rick looks at himself and says, hey, I'm a pretty sexy guy, so.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Does Rick Carlisle look at himself and say, I'm a pretty sexy guy?
He says smoking.
Yeah. Yes.
No.
So,
yeah, listen, I don't know. I can't comment on the stuff that goes on at ESPN. I honestly, I got to tell you, I watched Game 7, and I didn't think it was as one-sided a coverage as everyone else thought it was. But
Let me ask you about something you can comment on, which is TNT and everything going on with TNT. Do you find yourself interested at all in the bidding wars for the streaming rights? Is this something that you're discussing with people, because you've got one of the prime jobs in the industry and you enjoy what it is that you're doing, and it's important to have people that you enjoy working with? How much turbulence is there right now around everything happening with the streaming rights war?
Well, I mean, look, I'm not privy to anything. So, and to be quite honest, if they sat down and explained it to me, I wouldn't be able to understand it. I mean, the financial stuff, all those things are way over my head. I think obviously everybody's concerned because we take great pride in what we do. We think we do good work at TNT, and you want to see it keep going. So we're concerned to that regard, but we know there's business decisions that have to be made, and it's way above my pay grade. So I don't spend a lot of time worrying about things that I don't have any control over whatsoever. So we'll see what plays out. I think, Charles Barkley had made one comment that I thought was most appropriate in the whole thing, that who he's concerned with, and I would agree with this, is, it's not the people that are on air like us. I mean, by and large, we all have made good money and everything else. And at least in terms of a financial thing, it's something that all of us can survive. You feel for the producers, the directors, the camera people, the sound people. I mean, those are the people that, get really affected by this. And that's who we have to deal with.
Textbook response. Way to go, Stan.
Such a vet.
I mean, that's Stan.
No, but Amin, I would say this too, and I have said this before. I just said it on somebody's podcast the other day. It's one of the things that I really hate. Not hate, but people don't understand when they get on to all this coach on the hot seat and demanding that guys get fired. Look, I don't expect any sympathy for professional coaches, head coaches. We all make great money, and it's all part of the deal that you're not going to have security. But I don't think people understand enough that when they're demanding that a head coach gets fired. When I got fired in Detroit, I had 50 people working for me, and the vast majority of those people were making less than $100,000 a year.
A lot
and
less.
You got to understand that those people go out the door also.
Yep.
When a coach gets fired and new people come in. I just wish people understood that. Doesn't mean that fans, media, whatever, can't think a guy should get fired, but a little more understanding that there's going to be a lot of people affected that really don't deserve that fate. And I've said this before. What really bothers me is there's people in the media who love the coach's hot seat thing, and this guy should get fired. But then when the media are laying people off, we're all supposed to feel sorry for them. No, hell no.
I was about to reprimand Stan Van Gundy for not giving us his fresh stuff, for giving us recycled on someone else's podcast.
I said this on some podcast.
But I think he said it on South Beach Sessions, which comes out tomorrow. I'm pretty sure.
Okay, that's good then.
That's all evens out.
I wasn't totally sure whether I could come after him. I think we gave...
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
But people should listen to that South Beach
Great
Sessions
tease.
because Stan Van Gundy was great throughout that South Beach session. You will enjoy hearing from him tomorrow.
Stan, speaking of recycling conversations, I want to recycle a conversation I had with you at a game recently where I bemoan the fact that more and more front offices, when they hire a head coach, they tell them, oh, and by the way, here's your staff.
Yeah, listen, I mean, that's become the norm, as you know. I don't think it works very well. And I also just, in terms of accountability, like, listen, how many GMs would want that? Like, okay, you're in charge of, you're our general manager, but we're going to make the draft choices. We're going to hire the coaching staff. and then we're going to hold you accountable for the result. It doesn't make any sense. And I've just said, and I know I said it to you in that conversation, Amin, but what I don't understand is if you look around at the successful franchises, the consistently successful franchises, continuity is a big part of it. And, you look at Miami, you look at San Antonio, who's going to be on the way back up. You look at you look at Denver, and you see the continuity, and you see that they'll go through the hard times without reflexively making a change. And you can tell, hey, that works. And then instead, people say, yeah, that works, but I'm not going to do it that way. What I'm going to do is change my coach every year and shake everything up. And, I think a lot of it is, quite honestly, there's a lot of front office people that just give in to the fans and the media. They get a little criticism, they get scared, and, they don't have the guts to just say, no, we've got the right people. We've got some tough times. We're going to work through it.
Speaking of guts, Stan, I saw something that happened here with Roger Goodell saying everyone's entitled to their opinion. Like in America, we all like diversity of opinion. I saw that the Chiefs, Mahomes and Andy Reid, both sort of ran scared from having strong opinions about what Harrison Butker did in his commencement speech. I know that over the time knowing you, because of the love that you have for the women in your life who have taught you so much, that you came up through a caveman world, and in your family, the women taught you how to be less of a caveman. So when you see leaders in football with power run scared away from having anything to say about what Harrison Butker did in that commencement speech, your thoughts are what?
Well, I have a couple. First is, listen, this was Harrison Butker giving a commencement speech at from all I can tell, a pretty conservative Catholic college. So I don't know why what he said there was that surprising. I mean, you would think people with those kind of views would be the people that they would bring in to speak. And he's certainly entitled to those views. He didn't convene, a press conference just to speak out on those things. He spoke at a Catholic university, and he's entitled to those beliefs. We are also all, though, entitled to say that we stand against everything that he stood for. And I thought it was amusing coming from him with the women's role and the whole thing. And his mom is this accomplished scientist and everything else, who was clearly working outside of the home the entire time he was growing up. So I don't know if he resents his mom and how he was raised. I don't understand any of that. I don't agree with anything he said. I think it's backwards. I think it's misogynistic.
It was homophobic and anti-Semitic as well.
Well, I mean, listen, the homophobic stuff, there's no excuse for whatsoever. And listen, one of the things that has annoyed me for a long time is that if you cloak bigotry as part of your religious beliefs, then that's supposed to be okay. Like when there were supposedly Christian people that didn't think that black people should be living with white people, that black people shouldn't be able to marry white people, as long as you said, well, hey, it's God's belief. And, there's a part of conservative Christianity that doesn't think women should have leadership positions, and they go in and quote scripture and all that. Listen, to me, I don't care where your beliefs come from. Bigotry is bigotry. And saying, well, that's my religious beliefs, well, fine, then your religion's bigoted. It doesn't change anything, in my opinion. So, look, I stand firmly against everything that guy said. And I'll tell you, I'm going this far, Dan. He was a kicker on my fantasy team this year. I won't take him.
What?
Whoa! He's Stan Van Gundy. He is making a stand.
I'm boycotting him now.
Wow.
I'm boycotting him
Wow.
this next season on my fantasy team.
I reject everything Butker did except for this. I'm going to borrow anytime I have the wrong argument. It's God's argument. I like that
that's
move.
exactly.
I like that move.
We hear a lot of that now. Well, it's God's, this is what God wants. I don't say that this is the way it is. God says it. Like,
take it up with God.
Yeah, that doesn't work for me. Like, bigotry's bigotry. Where it comes from is, probably a lot of different places, but it doesn't matter. It's all the same.
Let me ask you about the end of the Pacers-Celtics game. Carlisle said that one's on me. It seemed like there was a lot of stuff at the end of that game that was pretty egregious for late game situations. You tell me what you thought of the last 30 seconds of Pacers-Celtics.
Well, I think Rick wanted to foul on the three-pointer, but they didn't switch the back screen. And I don't really think, and I'm a guy who believes in fouling in that situation, I'm not sure that Siakam really had an opportunity to foul.
He was late. He said he was late. He was screened and late.
He was late. What you'd like is if you switched it, you could just run through him when the ball was in the air and he goes to the line. Now, I will say, Reggie Miller and I were talking about it last night. The way Jaylen Brown shoots free throws, you might have been better off just having him shoot 3 free throws than shooting the corner 3. He has struggled at the line. The inbound stuff, look, I just don't think people give enough attention to it. Being able to inbound the ball at any point on the floor late in the game is huge. That is a very, very important thing. And you've got to have a guy who is really good inbounding the ball. And you've got to know what you're doing. I thought on that, first of all, I don't know their team well enough to say whether Nembhard should have been the guy inbounding. A little surprised it wasn't Tyrese Halliburton, who has size and who's a good passer. And then Siakam didn't come to the basketball.
Right.
Now, he ran a route that allowed Brown to get in there. So I didn't like the route he took to the ball. But again, it's something you have to work on. I know I've been in the same situation and made the exact same mistake. Coaches will always kick themselves in situations like that. And so I wasn't surprised to see what Rick said. But even if they had moved the ball up the sideline, then he would have had to inbound. I like them taking the ball out where it was with one timeout left. What I thought is you just tell your inbounder, that gives you 2 chances to inbound. Mm-hmm. You tell Nembhard, look, if you can't get it in cleanly, we have a timeout, take it, rather than just taking it ahead of time and now I've got no timeout. So I didn't mind the initial decision at all, but I just don't know. Listen, one of the things I had, and it's funny, this year we're doing one, or 2 years ago, we were doing one of Budenholzer's games. We were talking about into the game situations. And Bud was talking about, I got to find my inbounder. He looked at me and he said, you had the best late game inbounder ever in Hito Turkoglu. Yep. And you don't understand how important that is, whether you need a scoring play at the end or just to get it inbounds. The guy you have inbounding the ball is huge in that situation. And I don't think it can be different guys every time. Not in those situations. You got to have a guy who's been there a lot and can get the ball inbounds. And we see it a lot in the NBA, and I just don't think people take it seriously enough.
Coach, I'm with you 100% as far as having a designated inbounder, but I also like when that guy has size. You talked about Hito. Hito at 6'10" can see over almost every defender who's out there. The thing about Nembhard is that he's a small guy, so the vision, the sight lines aren't there. And then the other thing is Nembhard's one of their best free throw shooters. Siakam isn't. Why isn't Siakam the inbound guy and Nembhard the guy who's running around trying to get over?
Well, I can probably tell you why Siakam's not the inbound guy, but But here's the thing. I wouldn't have worried as much about that because he was in a situation where he only had to make 1 out of 2 to put the game away. So, bigger guys, easier to get the ball to. I think when you have the ball in the scoring area, look, we saw it in our game last night. Minnesota's going to need 2 possessions. They're down 4. They got a side out of bounds. They have Kyle Anderson inbounding. They couldn't get the ball inbounds. They needed to take their last time out, which meant on the last possession they couldn't advance the ball up the floor. But the reason they couldn't get the ball inbounds, Kyle Anderson's big enough, but to me, your inbounder's got to be able to shoot the ball too, because the guy guarding him, Luka, just turned and played the court. He wasn't worried about the ball coming in and going back to Kyle Anderson because he's not a shooter. So that inbounder, yes, he's got to have size. He's got to have the guts to make the pass when it's open. He can't be a guy who's afraid. Hito was never afraid of making a mistake, and he made plenty of them. And he could shoot the ball, so the inbounder's worried about getting back to him. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and it's worthy of a lot of thought and a lot of work because these situations come up a lot, and when they do, they're usually in the biggest games of the year.
Juju, put it on the poll, please, at Le Batard Show. Is Hito Turkoglu the best late-game inbounder ever? Also put on the poll, would Shane Battier like to have a word about Hito Turkoglu? And also, number 5, Stan, I want your top 5 late-game inbounders ever. I want you to put together the list on the fly. I want Chris Cody to get all of the materials that need to be gotten so he can have the kind of production that he's accustomed to at the height of entertainment. Number 5, Stan.
I'm not going to be able to do
Number
this.
Number 5. What do you mean? You can't say Hito is the best one ever and not have for me some rejected nominees. You can't do it.
There's no other nominees.
Who's the worst of all time?
No, we can't do that.
Also,
I'll tell you what. I think Chris Middleton's pretty good in Milwaukee. He's pretty good and a guy you had to worry.
Number 5, Chris Middleton. Number 4.
Andre Iguodala.
I don't have a 4, 3, or 2. This is all off the. You should have told me ahead of time. I would have done more research. I didn't
know we were going to be talking about late game inbounding and Hito Turkoglu for 4 minutes.
Well, that's what I'm saying, though. It's not something, and fans are not going to know if Hito was or not because it's not something that you think about until you get into a situation like Indiana got into the other night, and you can't get it inbounds. But it's also when you need a bucket, it didn't end up working for us. Courtney Lee missed the shot, but we're playing in the finals, and we're really looking. Rashard Lewis sets a back screen. We're going to be looking for him coming off the jump shot, but Courtney Lee was open, going to the rim. Hito made the pass, not afraid to make the pass. I think there's too many guys you have either aren't good enough passers or they're afraid to make the play, or inbounding, they hesitate because you're usually only open in those situations for a count. You got to put it on time. The guys who hesitate a little are going to struggle. It's a big skill, but, I think maybe only coaches really understand.
Oh, stop, Stan. I know Turkoglu's a good inbounder. Don't disrespect me like that.
Really? He's so condescending. So here he is.
Peasants wouldn't understand.
Look, I could come up with a top 5 list of inbounders. You could
not.
Well,
that was the year before I got there, but that's Hito Turkoglu making that pass. Now, you also got to have a guy like Dwight who can go up and
you can throw it anywhere.
Those guys are hard to find. Also, quite honestly.
Stan, before we get out of here, and again, I will remind the audience, South Beach Sessions with Stan Van Gundy tomorrow is fantastic. Can you describe, please, on our way out for the audio audience, the hotel art that is over your bed there?
It's gorgeous.
Can you tell us what it is that you have there and how tired you are of art like that?
It's just the whole back wall is it's wallpaper. Yeah, I don't really know. I didn't even notice it was there. So
but what is it? Is it the ocean? Is that what it is? Is it you don't know what it is? It's just
your guess is as good as mine.
I think it's abstract,
but
whatever
you see in it
gives off ocean vibes.
Yes, that's exactly right. It's what you bring to the art, man.
All right, put it up on the video, please. Now that we have found something to embarrass Stan Van Gundy.
I said, but here's the thing. That doesn't embarrass me because I said it and I meant it. Hedo Turkle, if you're in those situations, you're going to make some mistakes. And what a lot of guys do is then they get afraid to make the play. They hesitate. It leads to more problems. Listen, Hedo made plenty of mistakes. He gave me the my bad plenty of times, but I wouldn't want anyone else inbounding the ball in a big situation.
See you later, Stan. Good talking to you, sir. Again, I will remind the audience, TNT, he's doing fantastic work for TNT. They've got a lot of the playoff games and Stan's on them. Thank you, sir. I would like to ask the group whether something that Charles Barkley did last night is allowed. Not the previous thing that we talked about, wondering whether or not it was allowed.
Allowed for Charles or allowed?
Allowed, if we're going to allow it as sports media consumers, Charles Barkley said before the game last night that after watching Minnesota and Denver and watching Minnesota beat Denver, that he got caught up in the moment and picked Minnesota to beat the Mavericks. But then, before the game last night, changed his pick. Is that allowed?
Yes. Before the game, yes. Now, if he had said it after the game.
But you get caught up in the moment, and 2 days ago or 3 days ago, you had an opinion, and then no more new information has come out, and your opinion is on the other side.
Well, that tells me, again, that he's thought about it. Maybe new information has come to him through process.
Maybe he's talking to players.
That's
right.
right. About
Self-discovery.
the WNBA. Yes, a lot of reporting that Charles Barkley has Charles Barkley doing.
You guys act like Charles doesn't talk to anybody. That's my favorite thing. He doesn't have a press hat and he's like, "What do you think of this Caitlin Clark character?" He's having conversations with all types of people, and sometimes those conversations might sway him. As a personal friend of Charles Barkley, I could tell you he's a guy who's very open-minded.
Say that.
Look at me, Louie.
But
Look at me, Louie.
should also say I'm changing my pick because I had some conversations, maybe saw shoot around.
Something.
This is why. Give us a reason. Did he give a reason?
He did. He said he got caught up in the moment.
That's a good reason.
And he said he watched the film.
Did he say he watched the film?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't think
I'll
he
go
said.
look and make sure.
I've never heard Charles Barkley say, "I watched the film." I've not heard that. Perhaps he has said it, but I don't think of Charles as he makes his observations watching the game. I don't think of him as somebody who's going back and
watching it again,
going into the tape room.
You are more than allowed to change your opinion whenever you want on anything. But what you can't do is if then your pick is wrong, be like, "Well, I did have the other pick too." You can't go back.
You can't Stugotz
it? That's it. You can't get any credit for once having the right pick.
I want to play some sound for everybody here because this is one of the sports arguments that Google will never be able to destroy. The internet has not quite destroyed the sports argument, but it has made it a lot less fun because you can just go look up when most people are wrong about things. But in this particular case, Shaq and Draymond Green are talking about, I believe it's the Shaq-Kobe Lakers versus the Durant. Is it the Durant Warriors, that they're talking about how these teams would fare against each other. Here's Shaq and Draymond Green, and the facial reactions of Shaq are great, but so's the commentary.
Shaq's Lakers against your Golden State Warriors. Any of my championship team, any of your championship team, who wins? And the bonus question, who guarding me? Please don't say Andrew Bogut.
I don't think any one player on our team could have guarded you. I do think there were defensive schemes that we could have thrown at you to affect you. One is not letting you get the ball. So we're going to guard you with a guy in front of you, a guy behind you.
They did that.
I wasn't on the court, though.
All right, so what you going to do, stand behind me?
I'm standing in front. Ain't no ball getting to you.
What you mean the ball ain't getting to me?
I'm not 6 feet.
But you ain't 7 feet.
I got 7'3" wingspan.
And I got 9'4" wingspan.
Yeah, but you can't get the ball through me. Andrew Bogut's behind. Strap in the front. We're leaving somebody over there to shoot because you couldn't shoot.
But however, Bogut gonna be in foul trouble. Now who your backup center?
Me.
Draymond, stop.
Me.
Draymond.
Shaq, I don't think I could have guarded you. I'm not saying that. However, you would have had to bring your big out of that drop. Man, if you stay back there, I'm going to nail whoever guarding Steph. I'm going to nail whoever guarding Clay, and we're going to dot your eye every play.
Okay, but you know what's going to happen after that? I'm going to tell D-Fish, get up on him, let him drive, and I'm going to lay his little out.
Hey, then we got to fight.
All right, what you got to fight then?
And guess what? You getting thrown out the game and me getting thrown out the game, who's that going to hurt worse? Your team. Then y'all lose.
So I guess we're not going to fight then. Who's guarding Kobe?
Clay.
that look at the end, who's guarding Kobe? Clay, what are your thoughts in general? Shaq thinks his team would always beat everyone, even though they lost to the Pistons in 5.
Yeah.
They didn't have a star.
That's what I said. There was a scheme. They showed it, and they said, like, okay, we're going to allow Shaq. People don't remember this. Shaq was destroying Ben Wallace, who was the best defensive player in the game at the time. He was destroying him, but they suffocated everybody else. It says Shaq go nuts. And it worked. And it didn't work in 7 games. They beat him in 5. They beat him pretty handily. No, I think the other thing that people never recognize when you talk about old team versus this team is if the Lakers show up, all right, we're playing these Warrior guys. I've never heard of them, but okay, whatever. And you see Steph Curry pull up from 30. You're like, look at this guy. All right, good luck with that. Oh, went in. All right, and then the next time, you're like, that was a fluke. And then the next time it happens, and now you're like, okay, we got to get out there and pick up. But now your defense isn't used to picking up 30 feet out. You're not used to fighting over on a screen that's above the three-point line. So all of these things, it's like showing Isaac Newton an iPad. Like Isaac Newton, one of the greatest scientific minds. If I show him an iPad, he's like, what is this sorcery? There's no way he's going to get accustomed to it in time.
It's like Eddie Murphy and Martin in Life. They're just arguing about what they would have done. The boom, boom room. It would have been raised. My name would have been in lights. My bad, Jerry.
No, speaking of iPads, I mean, maybe that is what Charles Barkley watched film on, because he claims he watched 3 hours of film on the Timberwolves and the Mavericks before this series.
Y'all trying to shit on my boy Charles, man. My good friend Charles Barkley. I won't stand for that kind of slander.
It was just Dan, by the way.
He sent open threats to his daddy on live television. Yes, F. Charles Barkley.
No, I ain't going to stand for that.
Well, you're sitting.
I'm not standing for it. See, I'm not going to stand for it.
You're being boring again.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm here sticking up for one of the, not only the greatest players of all time, but one of the greatest TV personalities of all time, if not the greatest in sports.
I would agree with everything you said. I will.
Also, your dad be saying some disrespectful. Let's be honest. You let it fly like that, it's gonna come back to you at some point, Poppy.
Pick a side, Brutus.
I will apologize on behalf of New Information, correcting my wrong opinion that I do not associate Charles Barkley with the film room. I associate Charles Barkley with being paid at all times to be Charles Barkley. To me, this becomes self-evident during March Madness when they just throw him out there and he does.
He's not going to be watching that film. Come on, Dan. Let's not be ridiculous now.
It's just 2 teams now. Like, it's not that difficult.
Yeah, it's NBA basketball versus like Marist versus Iona.
I just think Charles has to be Charles, and I don't think of him as a prep freak because he doesn't have to be.
Yeah, because that's what Kellogg is for. And Seth Davis, Seth Green, what's Seth is?
Yeah,
one of the Seth.
Seth Green.
I liked how you said Clark Kellogg, too.
Seth Green? I would love Seth Green on March Madness.
Seth MacFarlane, too.
Oh, my God.
Just
all the Seths.
All the Seths.
A variety of Seths.
This is good, isn't it?
Oh, Seth Rogen getting in on it.
Oh, it's Seth Rogen.
Do you have Jason Kidd's laugh back
Seth
there?
Myers.
Since you did a
CT5 Seths. Hold on.
That's a good
Let me make a
You
list.
did a very limited
But no one knew what it
Seth
was.
Rogen laugh that none of us understood until you explained it. Let's get the Jason Kidd laugh. This is the way you laugh when you beat the Timberwolves on the road.
That's terrifying.
That's Beavis and Butthead right there. Oh.
I believe that there's something about that that's a bit unpleasant, and it's making Jessica and Lucy make the same face.
The breaths are as creepy as the laugh.
That's me in front of the microwave at 2 a.m.
What's in there? Hot Pockets? Like, what are you staring at in there that you're staring at so hungry because you've gotten you got the munchies? What is it that you're staring at? What's in the microwave?
Everything concocted together, left over in the refrigerator to make one super meal. I'm going to mess my stomach up in the morning, but F it.
I got top 5 sets for you, Dan, if you need them.
All right, we'll get to the top 5 sets to end the segment, but I do want to talk about something that Hal Steinbrenner said. Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Are we still making Hal's at LeBatard Show? I would be so mad if I were the Steinbrenner family to have the Yankee name on We Can't Afford Stuff. He's talking when they've got Juan Soto and they're playing great and they look better than they've looked in many years because the top of that division is tough. Him saying that they're not finding it sustainable to deal with what's happening financially in the sport. Stunning to hear a Steinbrenner actually quoted on that, not anonymously. The Steinbrenner name is today stained by the fact that Hal Steinbrenner is an embarrassment to his crazy old man. Number 5, Amin.
I have all eyes, actually. All eye number 1, Seth Davis. All eye number 2, Seth Greenberg. Number 5, Seth Meyers. Number 4, Seth Rogen. Number 3, Seth Green. Number 2, Seth MacFarlane. Number 1, Seth Curry.
Wait a minute.
He's the number 1 Steph. Curry. Oh, man, I messed it up.
Yeah.
Richard, thank you for being on with us. Let me tell the audience there was a big story in Front Office Sports that I felt like it flew under the radar this week, at least in part because people don't really understand what's happening and a whole lot of rule changing all around us that is making college sports something crazier than it's ever been. The headline on the story was a breathtaking lobbying campaign, the NCAA's sophisticated effort to save amateurism. Richard Ford joins us now. I'm going to read what I think are a couple of pretty shocking paragraphs in this article. Quote, behind the scenes, the NCAA and Power 5 have coordinated a sophisticated campaign in Congress over the past 5 years to bring back amateurism for good. They want to not only halt future reforms, but also potentially reverse the gains already made. Richard, you're a former walk-on the Duke basketball team for one of Coach K's first teams. You're the team captain, or were the team captain, and you've got a podcast called The Big Amateurism Monologues, and you're pulling back the curtain on some of this stuff. So thank you for joining us, and tell us what it is that you made of both this article and, in general, the craziness of the last 5 years.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Dan, for having me. And that was a great article. I thought a gutsy article by Amanda Kristovich at Front Office Sports. And that quote is really important because what's been happening in Congress, and to press rewind, really this whole congressional debate began in 2019. And it was a response to the California Name, Image, and Likeness Law, SB 206, the Fair Pay to Play Act. And there was a bill put in by Mark Walker, Republican from North Carolina, in the House that would give the the athletes some no compensation and put some pressure on the NCAA. At that point, the NCAA and Power 5 were faced with a very important choice. Do they deal with those two things as one-off threats and use the whack-a-mole approach, which they had traditionally used, or do they look at their chessboard, step back, look at all the external regulatory threats that were mounting then? And you had state legislatures with SB 206. You had federal antitrust litigation, which is a really hot issue right now. You had federal administrative agencies through the National Labor Relations Board under the National Labor Relations Act. You had the potential for Congress doing something that the NCAA and Power 5 didn't want them to do. Then you had the potential for some free market activity, which is also an external regulatory threat. So the NCAA and Power 5 looked at their chessboard. They wanted to deal with all of these external regulatory threats in one fell swoop, and they came up with a brilliant plan. I mean, when you look at it I'm a lawyer, from a lawyer's standpoint, and I look at what they put together, I mean, it's really sophisticated. So they wanted three things, okay? And this was really to neutralize these external regulatory threats. They wanted the federal preemption of state laws. So they wanted the federal government to say to the states, you cannot regulate in college sports. And the name, image, and likeness laws, any revenue sharing laws, any laws that were inconsistent with the NCAA's regulatory authority would get wiped off the map with the stroke of a pen. Second, they wanted absolute antitrust immunity so that they could continue to violate America's free competition laws with impunity, imposing their compensation limits on athletes. And those compensation limits are really directed to controlling the labor force in football and men's basketball. That's what this is all about. They want to control the labor force. And the third thing they want, and this is so important right now because it could be in play after this global settlement, and then the NCAA and Power 5 go to Congress, The NCAA and Power Five want a provision from Congress that, as a matter of federal law, athletes cannot be employees of their institutions. What's the consequence of that? It means that they would not have standing to pursue their rights under the National Labor Relations Act. They couldn't engage in collective bargaining. They couldn't force the NCAA and Power Five to a bargaining table, and they would be left with really not much of a remedy to get some of these non-economic issues like health and safety, like work conditions, like the athlete voice on the table. So what we're seeing right now, what that paragraph referred to, is that you have all this activity on compensation, but behind the scenes, the NCAA, through some of the most powerful lobbyists in America, are trying to set the table for protective federal legislation that would allow them to roll back the NIL market and then to prevent athletes from forcing the NCAA and Power Five to a bargaining table in the future.
Richard, there's a lot of stuff here that's appalling, but according to your research, when you talk about those lobbyists, it's $7 million between 2019 and 2023 that they have an in-house Office of Government Relations where they're getting some expensive lobbyists here to protect the injustice. Where's that money coming from? Who's paying the lobbyists to protect the injustice?
Yeah, Dan, that's such a good point. And one of the things that we've talked about is that all of the revenue that the NCAA gets comes from March Madness money. They don't get a penny of football money because of a 1984 Supreme Court decision, Board of Regents, which gave the Power Five football interest their football freedom, financial freedom. So the NCAA relies exclusively on revenue from Division I men's basketball and the March Madness tournament. Those athletes, the labors of those athletes, are being used and then taken by the NCAA to fund their Office of Government Relations. And we don't know what the budget is. That doesn't show up as a line item on their budget on the Form 990 tax returns that they have to file every year. And then they have outside experts. They have Brownstein Hyatt, which is the #1 ranked lobbying firm in Washington, D.C. And they are damn good at what they do. I'm not criticizing the lobbyists. They're very, very good at what they do. And when I look at how they have orchestrated this congressional campaign and navigated it through 4 years, and it's made much more progress than a lot of people will acknowledge, and I think it's invisible to the public. But I admire the craft of these lobbyists. But I fundamentally disagree with what they're trying to accomplish for their clients. And I fundamentally disagree with the tactics that they have used, because they've used some divisive utilitarian-based tactics to try to divide the few who are the revenue producers who actually underwrite this entire business model, and the many who are beneficiaries of the existing business model, because that money from football and men's basketball goes downstream to fund non-revenue and Olympic sports and women's sports. And we're not talking honestly about what's happening here. And that $7 million figure you mentioned, Dan, was really just for the NCAA. It doesn't include the Power Five.
Rich, I have a million questions. I'm going to try to be as quickly go to these as quickly as possible. Right now, I've spoken to a lot of student athletes. They have no idea that this is happening. They are unaware, and it kind of feels like the ruling class has been planning this for quite a while, which is why Charlie Baker was brought in to get one over on the people that don't have a union, that aren't really super aware of this, that don't have a unified voice. They want to take this settlement, which on the surface level, a settlement is great. It behooves everybody to take the money right now, but in turn, going to Congress and asking them to codify this actually puts the student athletes behind an 8 ball they don't even know exist. And that's not even the non-revenue sports, which I don't know how, with antitrust laws, how Title IX gets considered in there. I know I've thrown a lot at you, but this is a very tangled web, and it's happening kind of under the cover of darkness.
Yeah, there are a few things that you addressed there I want to tackle. I think that the athletes don't know what's happening here, and that's one of the real problems. And that's why we started this DYK project. We have the DYK Media website, and can I plug my website? Am I allowed to do that?
I'll do it for you.
You just did.
dykmedia.io. dykmedia.io. If you want more research, it's Did You Know Media, and his podcast is The Big Amateurism Monologues. But I don't know which parts of this you wanted to tackle, but the settlement and the Title IX stuff, both of them are interesting.
Yes. Yeah, the purpose of our project, the reason I wanted to inject that is that what we're trying to do is take some of this complicated stuff and get it to athletes where they live. It's a challenge because nobody's really been able to penetrate the athlete community to speak on these terms and what's really happening in Congress. This settlement, one caveat, there have been selective leaks, strategic leaks. We don't know what this settlement looks like. And I'm going to keep my powder dry until we have an actual document that the parties are prepared to present to the judges. And remember, there are 3 cases that are going to be settled here. House, which has gotten so much attention, that's name, image, and likeness. Hubbard, which is back Austin payments. And then Carter, which is all compensation limits. The same lawyers, Jeffrey Kessler and Steve Berman, represent the athletes in all 3 of those cases. And we don't really know what the form of the settlement is going to look like. So I think I don't want to criticize it. I want athletes to get more money. I'm in favor of athletes getting something closer to what they're worth, rather than these incremental fixed sums that really don't do a lot to address the equity issues as I see them. Then you have this Title IX piece, and that's a complicated piece. And there's been a lot of pushback in the House litigation. The NCAA and Power 5 used Title IX really as kind of a defense to the plaintiff's claims. And they were saying that in this formula that the athletes experts had put together, where Power 5 football, men's basketball players, and then to a lesser extent, women's basketball players, were going to get the lion's share of the money. And this is for the damages component, not the revenue sharing, just the damages component. But they said that money's going to the men. And there's a Title IX issue here, and you cannot create a remedy in this antitrust suit that creates a violation of Title IX. They've used the Title IX arguments in Congress. They've been very, very effective as a wedge issue, and I think it's a divisive issue. They haven't come up with any evidence to show that women are being harmed in this name, image, and likeness market. They just want the presumption of harm to be their goal. And so we have this environment where Title IX is front and center. And it's our belief that there's plenty of money and plenty of equity to go around in college sports. I think that the issue with this settlement, you have the damages payouts. I don't know what that's going to look like. It's going to have to account for Title IX, but more importantly, the revenue sharing going forward, where the universities are making these payments. And in that context, Title IX undoubtedly applies because those universities are receiving federal funds and they're subject to Title IX. What those allocations look like, and it could vary from school to school, but I think that if I'm, talking to the general counsel at a Power 5 school, I'm going to advise them to err on the side of Title IX compliance, whether that results in equal shares of this money, this money with a $20 million cap for revenue sharing. I don't know. But I do think that there's going to be Title IX litigation on the backside of that. One of the ironies of this whole global settlement is the NCAA and Power 5 want everybody to believe this is going to solve all of the litigation issues. Well, on the backside of this revenue sharing agreement, depending on how the schools, allocate that money, there could be additional litigation. There's a case pending right now in federal district court in Oregon, where a group of female athletes have sued the university and really targeting the collective money, saying the collective is actually acting as an agent of the university, which means Title IX would apply, and that too much money is going to the men. We need more money going to the women. So those issues are percolating. And I think you're going to see on the backside of this settlement, if it goes through and this revenue sharing goes through, you're going to see some Title IX pushback.
This would give the ruling class all the benefits of capitalism while capping the labor force to what they could make. I've been really concerned about this because it's got all the warning signs. It's happening so quickly, even though this has been a 5-year plan. It's operated in the shadows. I've been dismissed by a lot of people who are pretty well informed that say, try to have Congress pass something in an election year right now. There's no way this happens, especially since the labor force here is going to eventually be taken for a ride, even though it initially be celebrated as, look, here's all this money. Who doesn't want money that you weren't expecting? Do you think this actually gets passed in Congress?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question. And there are 2 responses to that. I agree with your analysis. I really think you're framing it well. It's not just the likelihood of Congress acting. You have to look at the consequence if they do. So even if there's a small likelihood that they act, what they might do with these federal protections and immunities would forever impair athletes' rights and treat many college athletes as second-class citizens. Would be denied the basic freedoms that most Americans enjoy and take for granted. So, I think that you also have to look, and I paid very, very close attention to these hearings. I've studied the congressional campaign, and it has a rhythm. And over the course of the debate, particularly on this employee issue, you've seen movement away from sort of an athlete-centric way of thinking about this, more towards protecting the institutional interests through a no employee provision. And that's a dangerous dynamic. So I think, you have to look at people say it was after the elections and, nothing's going to happen. I have a different view. They have worked this particular Congress very carefully, and they have positioned some important decision makers, notably some moderate Democrat women who have been very tuned into the Title IX issues that the NCAA are using to kind of shape federal legislation. And you're going to have a lot of turnover in Congress after the elections. One of the key committees is the House Energy and Commerce Committee. That committee is going to have enormous turnover. And so the NCAA and Power Five, I don't think their lobbyists want to have to re-educate a whole new class of congressmen and women. I think that you have this settlement that's moving along on a pace where it could be approved by August, maybe September, depending on how much pushback it gets. Then you have the election, and then you have this period between the election and January when the new Congress is seated, where I think you could see the NCAA Power Five come in, and just really put the pressure on Congress to get something with these legislators that they have been working for several years now.
Richard,
that's my concern.
You have a lot of expertise here, and it's quite the thicket, but just your best assumption here, or best guess based on the thoroughness of how it is you've attacked this subject for a long time. The leaks on the settlement feel to me the way that Don King used to put a suitcase of cash in front of Muhammad Ali and say, here's $1 million, sign your life away. And he would sign because he didn't realize what the value of his future earnings are. Yes or no? They should accept the settlement. Athletes should be okay with the settlement. Yes or no?
I can't give you a yes or no because I haven't seen the settlement. They need more money, but I don't know what the settlement looks like. And I should also point out, there's an important thing hanging out there right now. And there's a lawsuit in Colorado that is almost identical to Carter. The Colorado case is called Fontenot versus NCAA. It's challenging all NCAA compensation limits. The NCAA and the plaintiffs in the Berman-Kessler cases want to get Fontenot transferred to California so it can be brought within the settlement. There's some interesting fighting going on. Just recently, just within the last 48 hours, the athletes in Fontenot filed a brief because there's going to be a hearing very soon on whether that case is going to be transferred. In that brief, they attacked the settlement and raised 4 or 5 really good points, again, with the caveat that we haven't seen the agreement, that I think are going to be some interesting points to discuss. There's going to be pushback to the settlement. There's no question about that. Should the athletes get more money? Absolutely. I just can't opine on saying yes to this settlement or no to this settlement unless I see the terms.
But what you should be saying is these motherfuckers are trying to do it again. They're trying to cheat the whole thing again. That's what they're trying to do. Let's smoke them out. Richard, smoke them out. Whether their settlement is fraudulent, no matter what it is, because they're trying to get over on the kids.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, I'm reluctant to
yes
put it
is the answer.
in those terms,
Richard,
but I will say,
Richard, yes is the answer.
It's a little bit more nuanced.
Okay,
yours is
Dan,
more nuanced. Yours is
hey,
more.
Dan, let me correct the record. Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
The expert.
The Big Amateurism Monologues is the podcast. And if you want more information on his research, dykmedia.io. Richard, thank you for the expertise, sir.
Yes, it's great to see you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Keep up the good work. I know it's a very complicated
Yes, it is good
thing
work.
to explain.
It is good work. He's doing good work on behalf of the kids.
I've spoken to 20 student athletes. They have no idea this thing.
No idea. Happen. Richard is out here advocating for him. These lobbyists, they're trying to steal all future monies. Why don't you introduce yourself to a comedy legend here, Chris Cody? Go ahead. I can't believe we've got, and I can say this is a comedy legend because this is a comedy legend. I will not have anyone say otherwise. Why don't you introduce him the way that you like to introduce generally dogs?
What up, doggy?
Triumph the Insult Comic Dog.
Beautiful.
Is with
Thank
us. You're welcome. Thank you for being on with us. He's a legend, and he has a game show, Triumph the Insult Comic Dogs. Let's make a poop.
Let's make a poop. Yes.
You can watch.
I am here.
You can
It's
watch
all about the poop.
the live special on Triumph's YouTube channel, Triumph the Insult Comic Dog HQ, and on Team Coco's YouTube channel. Conan.
It's that good. It's that good. It's on 2 channels.
He is here, though, covering the Donald Trump trial for us from New York. Very happy to have you, Triumph. Thank you for joining us.
It's an honor to be here, Dan. But look, I'm a fan of the show, and I have to, before we get into the Trump stuff, I just have to talk about, because you guys, this is way beyond sports. You guys break news all the time. Like just the other day on Twitter, I see the headline, breaking. NBC has contacted John Tesh about reviving the iconic NBA on NBC theme song, Round Ball Rock. Well, of course, I hurried to click. I hurried. I couldn't wait. I figured out how to do it. I don't have a thumb, but it worked out. And I see the clip, and you guys have Tesh on, and you're talking about it like this is a great thing, and you're celebrating. Oh, yes, even though we're losing inside the NBA, at least we're getting round ball rock. Hooray. What a great deal. We're trading Charles Barkley for John Tesh. That's a fair trade. Maybe we can trade Kenny Smith for Yanni. You realize this is the only good show left on regular television inside the NBA. It's better than half the games. But no, it's more important. We get to hear that old song again when the game starts. A song nobody under 40 gives a shit about. No, you can't curse? Can I curse?
Yes, you can curse. But I think you need to ask Robert to move his ear a little bit so that we can...
Jew over here. Get with the program. The guy's like 80 years old. Cut him some slack.
What an amateur. Well, you've been on television for a long time. You would think he'd be able to...
Wait a minute. You call this television? Slow down. Slow down.
Let's talk about the big
well, no. I have more. You guys, you're all there talking. Oh, Teshi, you're going to get an orchestra. Hooray! For what? That whatever the. What's the other? It sounds just like the TBS song. What's that? It's all the same song.
Triumph.
Seriously, even the CBS one before Tesh. Do you remember that one? It's all the same lyrics. There's no difference. It's like saying, "Hey, we're losing Charles Barkley, but instead of Sprite, you're going to get to drink 7-Up." Like makes no difference.
Come on.
Is the point? And now you know who's really at fault? We're losing the best show. That David Zaslav guy. You know who that is? He owns Warner Brothers now.
Yes.
Yes, the cheapskate. We all learned about him during the writer's strike. He didn't want to pay the money. And now, what's he going to replace it with? He's going to replace everything with Shark Week, I think.
Can we get
He loves Shark Week. He loves Shark Week because fish don't need health insurance. But I want to say one more thing. Tuesday's show, the passion that Mike guy had getting dragged out. That was so inspiring.
Mike Ryan, Ruiz.
Mike, yes, bravely yelling chicken shit as he's being pulled out of the room, screaming Jason Tatum stats. It was like those kids protesting global warming. It was exactly like that when the Chevron CEO is speaking, It's important, though, Dan, to stand up for what matters. Like our planet being poisoned or Jason Tatum not being great in the playoffs. Like the old saying, first they came for Jason Tatum being good in the playoffs and I did not speak out. Then they came for Karl Anthony Towns taking too many three-pointers and I did not speak out.
Can we
Good
talk
for
about
Michael.
the trial or no?
Yes, the trial. Yes, here we go. The trial.
And please, I ask you, Triumph, be careful with Robert's ear and his hair. It keeps getting in the shot.
My God, okay. Seriously, suddenly you guys are perfectionists on the show. You let the psychopath scream about Jason Tatum for a half an hour and you're worried about the Jew's ear? Fine, whatever it takes.
The trial.
Oh, yes.
What's
it very exciting. Yes, New York's been flooded with reporters because this is, of course, the least important of the Trump cases, but the only one that involves a porn star.
That's true.
Oh, we're on pins and needles. You guys, who do you think is going to win in the case? The bleached blonde with the huge jugs or Stormy Daniels? You know, the stakes are so high. That's why people are here. I mean, if Trump is found guilty, there's such high stake. Think about it. If Trump is found guilty, he could serve up to 4 years in the White House. I'm sorry. I feel bad for the guy, you know? The one time he actually pays someone, they indict him for it. The guy can't catch a break. You know, if this can happen to Trump, it can happen to you guys, right?
No.
Am I right? I mean, okay, maybe not. I mean, you guys would never need to pay a woman hush money, as if any woman after having sex with you would tell anyone. Amin, is Amin there?
Yes, he's here. Yes, be careful.
I mean, it's got to be strange, this whole thing, for you to hear about women being paid for their silence, since when you would pay extra for them to be loud.
Oh, wait, hold on. Wait, who you been talking to?
I just picked your name at random.
No, this is why Amin doesn't like dogs.
This is one of the many reasons. Trump has been able to delay his other cases, though.
Yes, he has. He's been so successful at getting cases delayed, they made him an honorary Southwest Airlines pilot. Ba-toom.
That cigar.
Stormy, that was exciting when Stormy came.
What was that like?
Wait.
Oh, I tell you, everyone was so thrilled. I mean, it was historic. After 17 years, Trump finally made her come. Fatum.
He does his own.
He does his own rim
Listen,
shot.
the women, I'm sure the women on your staff must feel some sisterhood with Stormy Daniels. I mean, even Pablo Torre must relate in some way. I mean, because I have to assume tons of guys have offered Pablo money just to keep his mouth shut as well.
We can't see the trial, but I do find it, I guess, moderately compelling whenever Trump emerges during the breaks and rants sort of nonsensically.
Oh,
to
yeah,
the
it's a
camera.
corrupt judge, the most crooked judge in the history of the world. But he also farts constantly. And even worse, he throws the sound of his farts across the room to make it seem like other people are doing it. He ventriloquistes. He's so full of shit. Trump's farts are so bad, the defense team had to bring in Post Malone as an air freshener. You see, because he smells. Trump's defense team nicknamed him Saddam Hussein because he won't stop gassing his own people.
Oh, come on.
Too soon.
What? That's what? Too soon? Too soon from 20 years ago. Oh my God. You know, but he deserves it, man. The guy's sleazy. Do you know Trump wasn't wearing a condom when he had sex with Stormy?
Yeah.
He pulled out so fast you'd think her vagina was NATO.
The cigar is falling apart, Triumph. He does
That's
seem
part of the act. That's part of the act.
He seems unhinged, though, at this point.
Oh, the whole thing's getting to him. Have you seen any of his rallies lately? Yeah, Trump's definitely kind of losing it. He's even started to slur his slurs. You know, he keeps talking, you know. I mean, the judge slapped him with a gag order, but if the judge really wants to shut Trump up, he should ask him to clarify his stance on abortion. Then he'll be quiet for quite a while.
Or just turn off the prompter. He's got congressmen flying in to make speeches outside the courthouse, too.
Yes, all these suck-ups. And did you notice they're all wearing the same gray suit and red tie? It's like they matched. I couldn't tell if they were in a cult or if Men's Warehouse had a 2-for-1 sale. I mean, they're so eager to please and follow commands. I'm surprised Kristi Noem didn't shoot them.
Oh, Wow.
Hey, I'm a dog. I'm allowed to make that
That is.
joke.
You are allowed.
You know what was great though? You know who I loved seeing among in the courtroom, outside the courtroom? Did you see Joe Piscopo was there too? It wasn't to support Trump though. Joe Piscopo just has to be on camera at least once a year to keep his SAG-AFTRA health insurance.
There were a lot of people, including me, that were hoping that Trump would testify.
Yeah, no, that was never going to happen. But he explained it though. He said it's not that he's guilty; he's just shy in front of crowds. Now, I think his team was afraid that if he had to be sworn in with his hand on the Bible, it would burst into flames.
Yeah, there is that possibility.
But he's smart, you know. He's very smartly. He's got like 3 more trials, and everybody's worried for him. But he's very smart, you know. Because when he was president, he pushed all these environmental policies that guaranteed that the world would end before half his trials finished.
Do you have any opinions on who his vice presidential pick will be? Any sense?
Yes, we're still talking. I like Vivek, you know. I still think he's got the chance, you know. He represents the American dream, the son of immigrants who grew up to hate immigrants. Usually takes 3 generations to hate immigrants. Vivek did it in 1. You know, and people love the name Vivek Ramaswamy because just saying his name, Republicans love it. Ramaswamy. It feels like saying 3 ethnic slurs in a row. But this is a very important, you know, we joke and we kid, but I want people to take this election seriously, you know, because this November, Americans have to ask themselves, what kind of dementia do they want in the White House?
It's true.
They want wandering in the park in a robe dementia, that's Biden. Or if you want random noises, and Hannibal Lecter was quite a guy, dementia, that's a Trump. It's more of a Trump vibe.
What about RFK?
RFK Jr., I don't think we can handle. I think people know that they can't handle 4 years of that guy. Think about it. After spending just a couple of weeks around Kennedy's mind, even his worm took its own life.
We appreciate all of your intellect, your comedy, your insight. But tell us about your live show because you.
Yes, I have a live show coming up at the Den Theater in Chicago. It's a week from Monday, right at the start of Pride Month, or as Harrison Butker calls it, Jew. Yes. Nice guy.
You seem to know some sports. People,
I do.
People in Chicago, Jessica among them, are very excited about Caleb Williams. Are you?
You know, not just Caleb Williams. I thought the whole NFL draft was very exciting, the first round, you know? I mean, think about it. For the first time ever in an NFL draft, did you know this? 5 of the first 10 players drafted were fathered by Nick Cannon. No, it's a great time to be in Chicago, though. It really is in June. The cicadas drown out the gunshots. You know, there were 45 shootings over one weekend recently. Even the NRA said that's too many. And now they're proposing a ban on weekends.
Can we talk about your game show, please?
Yes, you may talk about, but please, you please, me please.
Yes.
Let's make a poop. I'm the host. And we ask celebrity panelists questions, kind of like Jeopardy, and you have to try to guess a funny answer. That's how it works. Can I play with you?
Oh, we would love to. But do you want to tell us anything about the guest panelists? Anything about the
Let's couple of questions, and then we'll get the.
Let's play the game, Dan.
All right.
I want you to understand how the game works first. Human beings are separated by this. Human beings are separated from this by only a single chromosome. Can you guess?
From this?
Like primates,
by
right?
A
like
single
chimpanzee?
chromosome baboon.
No, sorry. The correct answer is, what is Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Okay.
He would have also accepted Jake and Logan Paul.
Okay.
Try another one. In 2023, sales of Bud Light dropped significantly due to this.
I know this one. They had an endorser who was a trans person, and that's
No. Sorry. The correct answer is, what is Ben Affleck having a dry January? That's why the sales dropped significantly.
Okay, understood. So whatever we think is the correct answer is the wrong answer. That's the way.
No, you're supposed to guess the funny answer. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Did I not say that?
No. Well, you're funnier than we are. Let's make a poop. It's a live game show.
It's a live game show we did a show with Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh.
And that's the one that's on YouTube. It's a very funny special for people to watch. But in Chicago, so far we have Ryan Dempster. You know that guy from the Cubs.
Yep.
He's a broadcast. And we have former Governor Rod Blagojevich.
No way.
Really?
Yes.
He's out?
Yes, after terrible scandal.
Trump pardoned him, I think.
He sold
Yes.
Obama's seat, right?
Yes, and now he's out. And it's still 10 days away, so we have time to pry Blagojevich out of Trump's ass.
He will be at the Den Theater in Chicago Monday, June 3rd, and you can watch Triumph's special, Let's Make a Poop, in San Francisco with Weird Al and many others at the Team Coco page on YouTube. What Conan O'Brien and Triumph have done over the years is really amazing. So to Triumph and your cohort Robert's ear, we thank you.
That was the Turner one. the same song.
Jessica had to leave on assignment, and Stugotz did do all the God Bless Football stuff, but never actually showed up to what we were doing today. So we will catch up with him at another time. I suppose that we all saw him here. He was here for many hours.
Lacrosse Final Four, Dan.
I don't know what happened to Stugotz.
I smell cigarettes around here.
Yes, we smell heaters. But I saw that Cameron Brink made Kawhi Leonard laugh more than anyone's ever heard him laugh, and also made Shohei Ohtani speak perfect English. Like, we all saw what happened there, correct? She has had an unbelievable star turn here where she can make Kawhi Leonard laugh in a way that makes us be like, wait a minute, who? What?
She made Shohei speak perfect English is funny. It's just like she's the chosen one. She just comes in and like healed him, just touched him on his hand. He's like, I speak perfect English now.
I'm convinced that Shohei is sort of like my Cuban great-grandmother, though, who like selectively didn't speak English. It's one of those things.
Every single international player.
Right.
Every single one of them. Anytime you ask him to do something, no, and then anytime it's like, man, we're going out and get something to eat. Like, yeah, cool, let's go to. I'm like, whoa,
Like
where'd
he
this come from?
selectively forgot that he placed all those allegedly.
No, hey.
Allegedly. This is the Taylor Rooks phenomenon, though, where every player who sits in front of her all of a sudden says, yes, I'm going to win 7 MVPs, because all of a sudden the man has something inside of him that he didn't know could come out, whether it's laughter or English, because he's in the presence. He's in the presence of
such
company.
a great basketball player. Like, once you are around the number, she's number 2. The number 2 pick does that to everybody.
Defensive stalwart.
Exactly. Great block at the end of the game to secure the win the other night. Good God almighty.
Let's go to Tony here, though, because Tony is our man on the street. And let's just play this Bill Simmons sound and also test this Bill Simmons sound, because the Florida Panthers look like they are Stanley Cup champion worthy. They lead the Rangers 1-0 after beating them 3-0 last night. And here's Bill Simmons telling Florida and the Florida Panthers, we don't know where you play. Nobody does.
Florida fans, settle down. You didn't know what hockey was until like 1993. You literally didn't have hockey. You've never won a cup. The average person who follows sports has no idea what city you're attached to. You're the Florida Panthers. Are you in Jacksonville? Are you in Orlando? Are you in Palm Beach? Nobody knows. The answer is Miami. But literally most people don't know that.
I love
Sunrise.
The answer is not Miami. The answer is Sunrise or Sawgrass, if you prefer.
Congrats. But also, I love how he says 1993.
Why are you congratulating me?
Not you. I'm congratulating him.
But what are you
For
congratulating
being
him?
ignorant.
Okay.
For being ignorant. And also for thinking that 1993 is like yesterday. They didn't even have it until 1993. Dude, most of the players in the league weren't born in 1993.
If you're going to be condescending, be right, is really the message.
And also, don't be a relic of some distant past, you 20 CB ass MFer.
This is one of my specialties, being condescending and wrong. I believe I'm an industry leader in that regard.
But
Tony,
you do it cool.
Not exactly. Tony, where are you? What are you doing? Are you going to test Bill Simmons' theory for us now?
Dan, hello. I'm usually at Bayside. I'm at my spot, and they kicked us out, unfortunately.
Classic.
Even though they didn't understand that we filmed there for a year and a half. They're like, hey, do you have stuff from management? I'm like, no, I don't need that. And they're like, yeah, you do. So they kicked us out. But we are outside of Miami-Dade College right now, attached to the Elser.
Oh.
Obviously, the fans are buzzing right now. Rose, if you can pan over, buzzing
Oh,
about
look
the
at
Panthers
that. There
right
is
here.
genuine buzzing over
Yeah,
there.
they're congregating about the Panthers.
All right. So do you
I
have
just heard him
someone
say
to talk
Chuck
to?
and Barkov.
No, you did not. You
Yes,
did not
he did.
hear that at all. Go find somebody to talk to and get us an answer to the question of where do the Florida
You know what? We're going to
Panthers
start with
play?
these guys right here.
All right. Let's see. Let's follow Tony here and see where this ends up.
Guys, hello? Question for you guys. Do you guys follow hockey at all? No? Do you guys know where the Florida Panthers play?
Mic them, Tony.
You're Italian.
Put
Okay.
the mic
I like
to them.
that.
Mike, you gotta put the mic in front of them, Tony. Otherwise, we can't hear that
They
they,
didn't
want to
want
talk
it.
to you
They didn't
because
want
they're
it.
Italian.
I know, they didn't want it.
Also,
They
Tony.
were Italian.
Also, Tony said "Buongiorno." Then maybe that would have warmed them up a
I
little bit.
should've.
Yeah.
Also,
All right, we're
would
gonna
have
come over here, guys.
Helped if we could have heard them.
Guys, hello. How you guys doing? Are you guys excited about the Panthers or what? I told you.
Where do
dang
they
it.
play?
Do you guys know where they play?
In the Panther Stadium.
Yeah, where?
In Miami.
Miami, right there, the one right there, right?
in the Panther Stadium.
Guys, right there, literally right there. Thank you, guys.
Excellent journalism, Tony. You
More.
Let's
More.
go,
Let's
come on.
let's
Yes,
double
please.
down.
No,
We got a couple
please.
more guys
Yes,
right here, Dan.
yes,
Hold on.
Please.
Yeah, this is going well. Let's keep doing it.
Yes.
Panther Stadium.
People
Guys,
on
you excited about the
camera will
Panthers or
say
what?
anything.
Panthers? Panthers. Where do they play? Just take a guess.
Football?
They play football. Yes, absolutely right.
Excellent
Nailed
work.
it, dude.
Excellent
Thank
work.
you, guys.
Thank you. Good work, Tony. Just keep hunting around.
Bryce
Keep-
Young has put some weight on. You excited about that? One more guy right here, Dano.
Yeah.
See if you can
My
find-
brother, really quick. Panthers, you excited?
Yeah, super excited. Go Panthers. Where do they play? Football.
Oh, baby, let's go.
They think
Bryce Young.
is he? Do they think he's saying what do they play?
I think we
Panthers?
should start.
Hold on, one more. Panthers? The Panthers hockey?
Panther, yes, sir.
Yeah. All right, we're out of here, Dano.
Excellent work.
He was about to get kicked out. He's just like,
he
wait,
was.
Panthers?
Yeah,
Security guard.
How about you Panther your ass across the street?
Right there is so good. All right, let's make sure. Let's see if we could keep that going through next week and test the theory. Can we find a single person in Miami who knows where the Panthers play?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say, can we find a single place Tony can tape without getting ejected?
That too. All sorts
11.
of
Let's send him to 11.
licensing. Oh, I don't think we can do that.
I'll go.
Did you say ogle? The thing that I wanted to talk about that I just saw on my television, because I don't want to make an accusation here without having all of my facts. But I just saw that on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith and First Take are promoting that Stephen A. Smith and his company have executive produced on ESPN Plus The History of Sports Media, a 3-part documentary about argument television and the evolution of sports media. And I think I was cut out of it.
Of course.
I'm not totally sure. I sat down with their team for about 90 minutes, and I don't know if I was cut out of it. I don't know. I haven't seen it yet. I remember that the interview wasn't great between me and them, where I wasn't giving them exactly what they wanted. I did not know exactly what they wanted, but I'm an opposing viewpoint on what debate television has done in general, corrosively, to how it is the athlete is covered and how cruel some coverage is. But I legitimately don't know if I ended up on the cutting room floor or not, and how should I feel if I was on the cutting room floor. Do you guys have interest in what it is that this is, which is just the history of sports debate television?
Dan, we're worried. We're worried right now about you because we saw a list here of all the names in it, and then at the end there's and others. So you might be others.
Chris, now I have a question for you. Who's a name on that list that you feel like Dan should be insulted?
Jeremy's got it. Let's go through the list.
I've got the full list, and maybe we can find it.
Okay. So
but wait a minute. Are you
No. We're going to figure out. This is what we're going to do. He's going to read the names. Some of these names, hey, you know what? Bigger than Dan Le Batard. I'll accept it. But some of them are not.
But I'm more interested, like, that part is interesting. If I could get the insult of just being others, but I want to be able to kick and scream about the fact that my viewpoint was simply cut out of a documentary that I spent 90 minutes interviewing on, but I haven't seen it and don't know if I can make the accusation.
I'll be honest with you, Dan. If I were ESPN and I hated you as much as they hate you, I would make you sit down for 90 minutes and then cut you out.
It is perfect torture, right?
Yep.
Sit down for 90 minutes, explain this to us.
As soon as you walk out, delete that shit, cuz.
They never hit record.
They weren't even rolling. The names.
That's why the lens was still on the camera, Dan.
The names on the list: Troy Aikman.
Okay, bigger than that.
Mina Kimes. Molly Kieram. Shannon Sharp. Michael Wilbon.
Yes.
Hannah Storm.
Yes.
Chris Mad Dog Russo.
Yes.
Jamel Hill.
Yes.
Bomani Jones.
Yes.
Kerry Champion. And Cameron.
Yes.
Among many others.
Okay. So I heard about like 4 in there, and everyone else was, okay. I like how Cameron, I wonder what they asked Cameron. I wonder what Cameron said. Hey, you want now? I don't want to see Dan's part that got cut out. I want to see Cameron's part that got cut out. That's the part I want to watch of that documentary. I guarantee you it's more entertaining than the other 90 minutes and whatever was cut out.
Pink horsepower.
Clap these cheeks.
You underestimate me. What did you just do there? Cameron was on CNN and made a mess of CNN, and when you have Cameron on, you have to expect that he's not going to respect your television product. It's part. He's been doing that since Bill O'Reilly and telling Bill O'Reilly that
you mad.
You mad. He's been doing that for a long time. Can you guys tell me a little more about this Philadelphia Inquirer story on James Franklin? And are we going to go back out to Tony, Chris, Cody? Because, Tony, I see that he's still wandering around in the streets out there. Tony, are you ready? Have you found somebody who knows where the Panthers play?
Dan, yes, we always find people. They can't get us from this close to Bayside. So we're going to be Familia, Los Panthers, de hockey. Okay.
Peru?
Literally
Let me
in
ask these guys over here.
Middle of the road.
Oh, we got to go this way.
So,
guys, the Panthers?
What's going on? Not into it.
Where they play?
Who they play?
Where they play?
No, you talking about North Carolina?
Yeah.
Jesus. Florida Panthers, hockey.
Carolina
sorry.
Panthers.
No, I do not.
You don't care? What? You don't care whatsoever?
No, not at all.
They're not from here. They're tourists.
Tourists.
Those
are
tourists. Get out of here.
Peru and Italy aren't?
Well, they probably live here. Those people had suitcases.
They were running across the street, Dan. They didn't want to talk to me.
Tony, you have 3 minutes left to find someone in South Florida who knows where the Panthers play.
You can't even cross the street, Tony? They won't even let you be on that little island
We're going
in the
to the
middle?
booth.
Okay.
No, we're going to the booth, guys. Hold on. We got to hurry up here.
He didn't check in.
I am not used to
Poor Rose.
With trick.
not used to Miami having so many rules. Miami is lawless.
It's crazy, Dan.
Except for Tony. Tony can't go in anywhere.
Hola.
He's too tall, bruh.
¿Sabes dónde juegan los hockey Panthers?
No sé.
No. ¿Sabes de hockey?
No sé de hockey.
¿Sabes de los Panthers?
Sé de los Panthers, pero me imagino que debe ser en West Palm Beach.
West Palm
A
Beach.
good
there
guess.
you
A good
Correcto.
guess.
Correcto. West Palm Beach.
Tony, you
Lo
have,
comiste, gracias.
City's excited about this team.
you have 2 minutes
close enough, dude.
and 45 seconds. West Palm Beach is not close enough.
It's closer than everyone else. Everyone else, North Carolina.
It's closer than Miami. I do think it's closer than Miami. But you have 2 minutes and
let's
30
see.
seconds to find someone. And I'm probably not going to go to that James Franklin story in the middle of those.
Maybe
2
Bill
minutes
Simmons
and
was
30
right.
seconds.
I think this guy right here knows.
I just want to say while Tony walks up to the next guy, I feel like my Spanish is getting better. From all these
Guys, you excited about the Panthers? Yeah? Do you guys know where the Panthers play?
No, we're out of town.
You're out of town.
Tourists!
Florida
That's the
Panthers
problem
hockey?
here.
Sure.
Do you know where they play?
Probably the American Airlines Arena.
They nailed
there
it, dude.
it is.
Thank you so
Good.
much.
Nailed everything.
Tony, I think you can do this through the rest of the playoffs. I believe you should be on a hunt to find if anyone in South Florida knows where the Panthers play.
Dan, I barely know where they play.
He needs to go to Brickell. This is too touristy.
You think that's going to
Like on the beach, like I don't know, like
This isn't the beach,
not the
though.
beach, but this is like the
Anywhere
Bayside. It's touristy. Like this is
downtown. It's downtown Miami. Like it's not. It's that. All of Miami is touristy. He's not gonna. Look, this is a Broward team, Chris. You know this. This is, I don't know how many people are driving from Miami to go see this team, because when people think the Panthers play in Miami, this is in traffic a 2-hour drive from where we are if you try to go in rush hour traffic.
You put this guy in the Weston Town Center and everyone will know where the Panthers are.
Everybody is pumped about the Panthers in the Weston Town Center.
I think we should do that. We should send Tony on a hunt throughout South Florida to see if he can find people who know where the Panthers play.
I think if he goes to Coyote.
Dan, how much time do I have?
You've got 1 minute left.
Time to hunt.
Or 11.
Oh, I feel this guy right here knows.
Can you get to 11?
You see him right here through the trees?
Yes. Hurry. Hustle.
Now he
Here we go.
doesn't
This is
have
the
to
guy right
hurry.
here.
All right, we are going to
Feel
see
good about this.
if we can get the big payoff here with 50 seconds.
You sure you don't want to do 11?
This guy has no clue the pressure
Brother,
on
Florida
him.
Panthers, where do they play? Excuse me? Florida Panthers, where do they play?
Play hockey.
Yeah, where, though?
Fort Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale?
There you go.
He said West Fort Lauderdale. Thank you, brother.
In your face, Bill Simmons.
Is that better?
Yes.
Sunrise, guys. He said it. Sunrise.
X nailed it.
Hockey Town.
Hockey Town. Hockey Town. Hockey Town. Hockey Town. Hockey Town. Hockey Town.
That's right. It's Thursday Thunder, and it's brought to you by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear all about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Thursday Thunder. Juju, what do we got?
We're going to start in the association. You already know what's going on. The biggest game in the world tonight. The Boston Celtics versus the Indiana Pacers. Andrew Nembhard is at 4.5 assists. I think the brother will get more than 4.5 assists tonight because he's been facilitating. Like Stan Van Gundy says, he's been put into passing positions even at his short height. So go with 4.5 over Andrew Nembhard tonight.
Just by itself.
No, that's leg number one. And also, too, disclaimer, you can pick some of these apart. If you like one or two of these, pick them. This is just my 3 picks for tonight. Always pick and choose which one you like. Next, we're going to move.
I need to tell people just so they understand that Juju is taking a great deal more care with this than I believe is taken with Against the Spread, where everybody just farts out a pick and there's not a lot of thought.
Billy nailed that one last night, though.
Yeah,
Panthers minus
Panthers
1.5.
by more
I
than
gave
a
you
goal.
that Challengers one last week, Dan, and it won.
Mike Ryan also had the Mavericks last night, but Juju pours himself into these, and when he tells you, feel free to pick 2 or individual ones. I don't believe you've had one in a while, Juju, that is something that loses more than it wins. These have either gone 3-0 or 2-1 for a while.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And to back up some of this, think about it. Tyrese Halliburton has to become a scorer to win this game tonight. Pascal Siakam has to score tonight. Miles Turner as well. And somebody got to pass him the ball at least 4 to 5 times.
Good logic. And the last couple of games, he's gone 6 assists, 7 assists.
Yes, sir, Ski. Moving on to the NHL playoffs. Holy moly. See, people thought I was one-dimensional. I'm a 3D guy.
Really?
You dig me?
I didn't have you as a hockey guy.
I'm gonna listen to my big brother. I'm not gonna expose his name, but he said Leon Draisaitl and them boys last year. So I'm gonna go with Leon Draisaitl tonight over 2.5 attempts on goal. He's gonna shoot that thing at least 3 times tonight. You dig me?
I dig you, and I said that in the most Caucasian way possible. I dig you. But Chris Cody is looking up for us something I'm requesting, which is Chris Mad Dog Russo trying to say the iconic hockey name Draisaitl because he butchered it, and we had it in the system earlier this week, and I want to play it here before we get out of here. The third leg?
The third leg, and I'm going to expose, it was Michael Schur, my brother. Salute to Michael Schur. He's always believed in Leon Draisaitl, and I believe in him too.
A strange protection of his anonymity there. I don't understand why you didn't tell us Mike Schur was.
I mean, us C's, we stick together. I don't know if my boy won his name in this Thursday Thunder. It might be a loser. I don't want to attach his name to something that could potentially lose. But know that I'm placing these bets as well with you guys. The last leg, we're going to travel to the WNBA. We got the Notre Dame alum, Marina Mabrey, 5.5 rebounds tonight against your New York Liberty. New York Liberty. You dig me? I think she will get more than 5.5 rebounds because she's more than just a guard, a shooter. She's a pure shooter, wet from anywhere on the court, but she also crashes and follows her shot. Unlike a lot of people these days, they shoot it and they take a picture with their hand in the air. No, follow your shot. And she's a great example of a woman that shoots the ball and follows her shot. So she will get 6 rebounds tonight against the Liberty.
I have been startled at how good you are at picking who's going over in rebounds in the WNBA, because when you pick these, they tend to go over very quickly. These have been cashed bets that cash in the second, early in the second half. So you haven't even made us sweat some of that stuff. How have you felt and how have you suffered generally your recent picks? Because we have not had and these are hard. 3-team parlays are hard, but you have not had a 3-team parlay winner in a while after a hot streak. So, and you suffer these things.
Yes, I literally am depressed over it. I'm so I asked my girl, I put all these bets in myself, and I'm hanging on to every game. I got a couple TVs at the house, and so I'm watching all of these games, and I live and die by these picks. And I hate when I lose people money. Oh my goodness, it hurts my heart. So I make sure I'm at least practicing what I preach. I'm not giving you ever any random things. These are things that I'm putting my money on tonight, Daddy.
But you're also looking for inefficiencies. You're looking for things that look wrong in where the lines are because you happen to believe in a player more, because you tend to go over here. You don't go unders. You're even a positive bettor. You don't go unders. You're not rooting for anyone to not have success.
Right, and a lot of stuff be hitting, bro. I just don't want to be on wax being a hater. Like, I don't want to be like, this person tonight will not do a great job, and it just sits with me. So I always want to go over, and I definitely trust my picks tonight. Andrew Nembhard, oh my God, I feel like if anyone you see, attack that one. Now watch you don't hit.
What about the Iowa unders? Will you bet those?
Absolutely. And because of my sister, too. We hit the bar last night. We were cheering, last year, we were cheering punt, punt, punt. I'm always going to bet on the Iowa under. You did me.
Can you get for me, Chris, have you been able to find Chris Mad Dog Russo trying to say the iconic hockey name Draisaitl?
But the Oilers with McDavid, the other kid, how you pronounce the other kid's name? He is great. The kid from Germany, Dratzel. How's his name? Colin, stop looking at your hockey schedule at Chelsea Pier. And what the hell was the kid? What's the kid's name? He's almost like he's into the pass more than he is into the shot.
Leon Draisaitl we're talking about?
Draisaitl. Oh, God, that guy's good. Oh, he's good. Dratzel.
Yes, Caliente Dratzel is it's a hockey player that I would bet on to have the over in assists and scoring.
Dratzel.
Caliente Dratzel. Lucy, it's nice to see you again. You're not around here enough, and I didn't think the show had enough Lucy today.
Oh, that's okay. I'm running off like 2 hours of sleep. I took Z-Quil, didn't even work. I had my nice pillow, so that helped a little bit, but I got to be honest. I walked in, I told Jeremy, I said, this had so much sugar in it, so I said, I will have a really strong, first 2 hours, and then after that, goodbye.
I think we should end this post-game show by celebrating how Jeremy ended our live hour.
I want to do that because I really did enjoy the laughter in the other room as a red-faced Jeremy walked out there to really a cavernous, echoing laughter of many thousands of people just roaring in his face. I did enjoy that. I felt both bad for Jeremy, but good for the general communal culture of our building to have everyone laugh together at Jeremy. But before we do that, can I get to some social media critique and commentary today about the show? Because I thought today nothing's going to do better than Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. That's the best we did. But Tony, for having that as the opener, Tony followed that pretty well. That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, and we had a poll that unfortunately has taken over the mentions right now. Is it rude to lean your seat back on airplanes? This is a chaos scene. The chat is going crazy right now. One person says the seats are meant to recline. I'm not asking another passenger if I can recline the seat I paid for. That's M. Matthews says that. And other people are saying that it's ridiculously rude. 69% of the audience said that it's extremely rude, but the poll is still going.
All right, and that one always triggers people. Let's get to what happened with Jeremy here, because he petered out. Jeremy, you have to understand, Jeremy, as a broadcaster, has had a great deal of success early in his career, an unusual amount of success. So when he soars towards stardom, he's jogging effortlessly. Everyone likes when he trips right before the finish line. It's more enjoyable. It's like when Whittingham did it, right? Where you're like, yeah, we get it, Whittingham. You're good at this, but it's better and funnier when you're not.
He's the number one Steph. Curry. Oh, man, I messed it up.
Yeah.
And there's a meme for you right there, just enjoying. Yep, you did mess it up.
He's the number one Steph. Curry. Oh, man, I messed it up.
Yeah.